in the idea of Natasha with actually either or both of you guys, and now obviously she's with Bruce. What do you guys make of that?
She's a slut. I was gonna say something along that line. It's complete horror. Trick, man.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday, where we're going to be reviewing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. What a fucking tongue twister. Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Convoluted Mess, as I like to call it. And I'm joined by my amazing panelist, Jane Theory. Hi, Jane.
Hello. How are you guys?
Hi. Good. How are you, Jane?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
Yay. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me here on YouTube, where I post movie and television reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jane Theory.
Yay!
Before you introduce yourself,
say
your line.
Hey guys. Hey guys. Hey guys. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
I love you, Jane. I need one of those. I need something for Script Doctor now. Like I need like a little introduction video for Script Doctor. Who is here? Script Doctor is here. Hi, Script.
Hello, ladies. Hello, everybody in the chat. I'm happy to be here to talk about this this latest entry in the MCU.
Yes. Tell everyone where they can find you, Script.
You can find me on Twitter more easily than anywhere else. I do have a channel where I do reviews, breakdown, and analyses of film and television, but mostly you can find me on Twitter, and because my schedule is pretty reliable on Sundays, you can find me here whenever I'm invited on Nina's channel. So
you're always invited. It's just sometimes you don't get to see the stuff that we watch.
I know. I hate real life.
I know. It sucks. But yeah, you're perma invited to every Sunday. So whenever you see stuff, you're here. So yeah, you can find him here. All the links are in the description. I've sent out the links to a couple other people. We might be joined by some interesting people. Otherwise, we have a lot to talk about. I started this conversation off last night on Flashcast. You could probably catch that still somewhere on the internets, where I was debating Lofty Pixels on this movie because he really liked it and I didn't quite like it. But you know what, though, I'll say this before I start just going crazy, like ripping into it. I think that you'll probably like it if you have literally like no expectations at all. Like it is a popcorn flick. Yeah. It's not like it's not like Morbius where I was like, don't do this to yourself. Like, it's not like that. So before like you guys think that this is going to be some sort of, completely devastating movie. It's not really. It might be to comic book fans or people who are extreme fans of Doctor Strange that you might not like it. But otherwise, I think that that's where I stand as of right now. Is it's not terrible, but it also is in a lot of ways. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag to say the least. But yeah, I think that's where I stand right now. Okay, so Jane.
Yeah,
give us your overall I do know that before we get into but I know that Jane did put out, I think it's a spoiler-free review.
Spoiler-ish. There's a little bit of spoiler. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't
there's also that. So
yeah,
check that out as well on her channel. Links are in the description. And before we get really into it, this is a spoiler review, guys. So we're going to be getting into the nitty gritty. We're going to get into the different characters. We're going to get into the ending. We're going to get into all of it. So there's a bug crawling on my wall. Hold on. I have to kill something. My God.
The ending, quote unquote.
I killed something and it was a bug. And
Ew.
it's dead now. It's in the multiverse of death. Okay. So yes, it's a spoiler review. smash the like, share the stream, tell everybody we're talking about this movie because some people may not want to go to the theater for this movie. A lot of people are boycotting Disney right now, and so they should. So if they are, please let them know that we're talking about this. And speaking of that, I'd like to say that I did not contribute money to Disney going to see this movie. I bought my tickets to Downton Abbey too. So I'm just letting you guys know that Disney did not get my money. I do put my money where my mouth is. So I didn't give them a fucking dime.
That's
So
hilarious.
that's all I have to say about this. So we're going to get into it now. Jane, tell me your thoughts.
Okay, so overall, the story is terrible. Like it made absolutely no. It just unwound by the end. Visually, it was pretty. I mean, it's a Marvel movie, and it had everything that goes with that. So I did enjoy the CGI and the multiverse stuff. But I just by the end, it was very anticlimactic. I wasn't sure what we had gone through for.
What was
what
even the
was
point? Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
mean,
totally
it's not,
feel
I
you.
think to a regular person who's not expecting anything from this, then you may enjoy it. But then again, it's so obviously bad by the end that I don't know, you may be annoyed by it.
That's how I
But
felt.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
a little annoyed.
If you just want to see spectacle, go for it. But that's
Yeah.
all it is.
I'd say so. Okay, good start. Low water mark for $25. That is so generous. Thank you so much, Low water mark. Says, so glad you're talking about the best movie ever made. Yes, Citizen Kane. Wait, it's not Citizen Kane. I'm out of here. Okay, thanks, Low water mark. Thank you so much for the $25. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the bestest movie ever in the franchise of the MCU. No, I'm just joking. That's not happening. So, Script Doctor, dear Script Doctor, tell me what your overall thoughts were on the movie.
Well, they line up pretty closely with Jane's. This feels like a plot for a half-hour episode of something for Marvel being stretched out and padded for a feature film length. One thing I will comment on is that there are some very moving performances in this from the majority of the cast, even though some of what they say is a little stupid or heavy on the exposition. This movie does confirm what a lot of people on Twitter got upset about with me last year when I said John Krasinski is not a good choice for Reed Richards because he doesn't know how to act.
Hang on. I have something for that.
How dare you?
Fuck you, Script Doctor. He was amazing. I was so mad. But okay, go.
Well, he
like
played him
him,
with
but
he played him with way too much doubt, and Reed Richards is not a doubtful person.
He's much more like egotistical and like actually, yeah.
He's more like a you
much
know what?
confident.
He's far more confident in his delivery, kind of like a Brett Weinstein or I wouldn't say Jordan Peterson, even though the knowledge and the approach to solving problems is there. But Jordan Peterson is a bit more reserved, and he's got a bit more of he doesn't have the authority in his voice, or at least he doesn't have the octave range of an authority in his voice, even though he speaks with great authority of what he's doing. But yeah, like that was I knew that was coming. But yes, this has a lot of spectacle, some pretty impressive special effects. If you are a Raimi fan, you're only going to get a small handful of Raimi-style moments in there. I was expecting a lot more from this, but it felt like there was a creative tug of war between some of the things that Raimi is best at doing and what Disney Marvel has mandated for their films. And I'll leave it at that until we get deeper. Yeah.
it did feel like a tug of war. That's a good way to put it, because it seems like they wanted to go all in on the horror, but were pulled back
Yes.
away from that.
That's how I felt about it too, because tonally I was like, I don't understand where this movie's going, because it wanted to go dark, but then it didn't, because it was Disney-fied horror dark, and it was just really weird the way that it worked. And I felt like it didn't quite work because it didn't know what it wants to be tonally. It was just like, it was silly, but then it had horror elements, and then it was weird. Like for example, with the whole like, okay, so when you get to the Illuminati situation, and then that scene happens where Wanda shows up and starts basically murdering all of them. Um, like when I was talking to Lofty, for example, last night, he was saying that he found it funny when Reed Richards was like spaghettied and then like killed off like that. Like he thought it was humorous and very Sam Raimi and blah blah blah. And I didn't think so, because I thought that I didn't think it was funny, first of all. Like, I didn't even think it was humorous in any way. And I thought that that moment was supposed to be kind of like a very serious moment in the movie. So it didn't really make sense to have that type of humor at that moment. But I was like, am I supposed to be laughing? Like, I was really confused about what I was supposed to be feeling. But I was also feeling angry because I was one of the people who was looking forward to seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic for the first time in the MCU, because a lot of people have been kind of, this was a fan favorite casting. Like, a lot of people for years have been like, Reed Richards should be Mr. John Krasinski and his wife Emily Blunt as Sue Storm. So like when it finally manifested in the MCU, I was like, oh my God, like there he is. And I didn't expect it because I hadn't read the spoilers. So it was just a really, really cool to see him in that role. And like, it was very short lived, literally. And I thought it was just really, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way that they killed him off, and I didn't think it was funny. But then they switched over to when, for example, they go to the Doctor Strange, zombie Doctor Strange, and that was again like totally like silly and like, but not quite because it's a zombie. But that felt really Sam Raimi because of the the Living Dead situation, and the Evil Dead. I mean, situation that he has going on. That's what he's known for. So it felt Sam Raimi, but at the same time, it didn't, because I was like, it's too silly for what the tone of the movie has been so far, which has been kind of serious. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I think you nailed on something, because Raimi is actually a master at balancing between comedy and horror. He figured it out. It took him Evil Dead 1 and 2 to really figure it out, and then he nailed it with Army of Darkness, and then Drag Me to Hell also did it really effectively. That was the more recent one, which I don't think a whole lot of people saw. Which
I didn't see it.
I had a blast with that film, but I can't remember much of it other than the fact that it was a little predictable, but it just felt rewarding when it happened. But I understand where you're coming from, because the comedy, there were some comedic moments, and there were some horror moments, and it didn't feel like they had the connective tissue to really give us an audience the proper suspension of disbelief to reconcile these changes, or these approaches, so to speak.
Okay, what about you, Jane?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like whiplash from time to time, because there was also the scenes where Wanda, her face is battered and her body's battered, and she's walking through kind of like a zombie, and it's intended to be very scary and very freakish, and then it's not. It's just like, okay, now we're getting to something scary. It's really about to get intense, and then it just doesn't. Like, it's like they come right up to the line and just can't pull it on over, and I hated that part.
Yeah, and it's like, for example, what that part that you're talking about, and I knew exactly what he was going for, but I was like, in the context of the MCU and who Wanda is, like, it didn't work for me, because the entire movie you see her flying around, and then like she's literally in arm's length of America Chavez, and then all of a sudden, and her foot is like cut up on the glass and stuff like that, and she's like gimping and trying to get them like a fucking zombie, and I'm like, why don't you just fly? Like, it just doesn't make any sense in that context of the movie. Like, it would make sense if she had somehow lost her flight ability, because that was the Wanda that wasn't truly, like, it wasn't the, I don't know if you know what I mean. Like, it was like the
I know
Wanda
what you
from
mean.
the other
So,
universe.
let's say, well, here's one of the things that you would do in a writer's room when you have to solve that. It's like, okay, why is she walking when she can clearly fly? It's like, oh, well, she's already gone through this trial with these robots and these other people. let's have her use some of her magic to like sort of magically suture her injuries. And the instant
Mhm.
she does that, she drops to the ground. And when she tries to fly again, she can't. So it's like either I can have my magic suture the injury so I can
Mhm.
heal, or I can fly and bleed out. And then that constrains the limitations.
Right.
And this is something that you show. You don't have to tell it. You just show. And that way you can convey that information along, so that you as an audience aren't being pulled out of the film being like, well, why isn't she doing this stuff here? Like, that's the biggest trick. That's why writing is very, very difficult, because sometimes you're so caught up with showing the awesome things and displaying the awesome ideas that you have, that sometimes those ideas conflict with the premise of where you started from. And
Mhm.
that's why you never trust anyone that says, oh, I only wrote the one draft of the script. It's like, okay, go back and do another one.
Yeah, go back and do it again. There's a lot of stuff that came up for me. And here's the thing, you guys, there's not going to be like any really structure to this stream, because that movie didn't really have any structure either. So we're just going to jump around to wherever like my mind goes, because my mind is also at half mast, because I just came back from a giant food orgy of a lot of food. And anyways,
Sounds delicious.
that it was so good. But I'm done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when my mind is like, I need a siesta right now. So we're gonna be jumping everywhere on this. So like when you were talking script, like that came up for me, is what came up for me is the other thing that's coming up for a lot of people, which is this movie MCU? And is there a bait and switch? And I felt like there was. What did you guys think that there was a bait and switch / MCU, Jane?
I mean, I guess I would say so, in the sense that Doctor Strange was not the star of his own movie. It seemed more like the America Chavez movie, even though she wasn't
Mhm.
doing very much, as a practical matter. And then you had Wanda, of course, who was the next most important character. He
Mhm.
seemed more or less like the babysitter, the bodyguard, the person there going
Mhm.
along with her from place to place, basically. And he also seemed very diminished personality-wise from how he usually is. So yeah, I think it was a little bit of a bait and switch from the beginning, but it wasn't unexpected. Like, if you knew that this was really about introducing a new character and it really wasn't about him,
Mhm.
then you weren't surprised at all.
Right. I was a little surprised. Not that surprised, because I mean, obviously I hang out with Gary and Az all the time. So I had a little bit of a feeling that it was going to be this way, but I wasn't, but I also was a little surprised that it was to this extent. So what about you, Script? Do you think that there was a bait and switched and MCU at work?
If there was, it was done in post, because one of the things that kind of surprised me is that Doctor Strange is in the mentor position. And it seems like someone with a very casual understanding of not necessarily the hero's journey, but just Star Wars. Because what they're essentially trying to do is they're trying to make America Chavez the Luke Skywalker, who it has a power that they don't quite understand how to use, and they need someone to train them for it. And they got Doctor Strange as the Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan is really the more active character in Star Wars at the first half, and then Luke, once they separate, Luke becomes active. But we didn't get that moment for America Chavez. She didn't get a separation from Doctor Strange and became more active. She got kidnapped and then was tortured and held down, and
Mm.
then Strange had to come and save her, which is different, because you would expect, given the pattern that we've seen with some of the female characters introduced in the recent Marvel films, that the female character wouldn't be put in such a situation that needed to be rescued by, the pseudo father figure, which is what's going on here. But we had a really big conflict of arcs in this script. For starters, Doctor Strange's arc was, I guess, coming to terms with not only losing the love of his life that he regrets making mistakes with. It's about the fact that he has this flaw of not being able to. He has to be the self-sacrificial one and the only
Mhm.
one at the center stage. And he doesn't want to risk or concern himself with the responsibility of other people, even if he's in a team. He doesn't want them to face any sort of trouble or burden. A little bit of an altruistic flaw. And his entire journey, it's supposed to go like this. It's not very effective, but everything is leading up to the fact that he is supposed to be able to rely on other people to rise to the occasion as well, so that they can in the community achieve their goal. And it doesn't really resonate because all the pieces are there, but it's a very early draft type of approach to it, which is why it feels so thin, which is why you have issues with America Chavez, where she's trying to teach Doctor Strange certain things about the multiverse, yet every time she makes a lesson, there's the opposite becomes true almost instantly, which I thought was kind of interesting and funny, because it shows that even she doesn't know what's going on. And
when she kept saying she has no idea what's going on, and I had a lot of problems with that actually, because I was like, wait, you don't know anything? Like, she was just so clueless, and
she's a character that's kind of being
she's terrible.
dragged. She's dragged through the story by other characters as opposed to having her own agency. One of the things that really surprised me was the fact that we didn't get an arc. We didn't get the Luke Skywalker moment of him figuring out the powers, so to speak.
No.
And she has very unique powers. We don't know the origin of them or anything of that nature. And
which again, that is something I have a problem with, and I was going to bring up, but keep going.
Which is absolutely fair. But the other part too is that there's no character in the film that also knows or understands her powers as well. So it's not like she can be trained. It's basically they got to figure. You need to have the wisdom of Doctor Strange with regards to how he learned how to use the magic, and try and figure out a way to apply that for her, so that she can translate that information into whatever internal feeling she gets when she opens up these portals or uses her powers. So we were missing two strong story beats where she could achieve that to justify what we have in the ending. It's almost like either they were never written to begin with in the first place, or they were written but not good enough to remain in the film and left on the cutting room floor. Because it's all predicated on the relationship between Strange and America Chavez. And it's basically he's supposed to be taking responsibility of someone, and his flaw of always wanting to be the person to, kind of helicopter or bulldozer parent, so to speak. He has to be able to let go of that insecurity so that that person can achieve their full potential. And there's so many, like even they introduced the story beat about Doctor Strange's sister, which didn't go anywhere. You've got the plot of Wanda, who I'll do a kind of a devil advocate to some of the counter arguments where she wants kids, but not really. She wants her kids. From her perspective, her two children were stolen from her, and she wants them back. It's specifically those ones. And any parent that has suffered the tragedy of outliving their child would say it's not enough to have a replacement. You want the original. And what we have here is a situation where she's so desperate that she wants the same kids, but it doesn't matter what universe they're from. She just wants them back to try and recreate what she lost.
Except without Vision or Pietro.
Except you have no Vision. She doesn't have her brother back. Like it's a very narrow type of goal. And one of the better things that would have really changed the direction of the movie, especially when you introduce a character like Reed Richards in a universe where they have charted and numbered all the universes, because they talk like Christine mentioned the numbers. You would think the first thing he would say to her is, Wanda, I know you're grieving, I know you're sad, but there are countless universes out there. Let us find one where you're not in it, but your children are, and start healing that way, as opposed to stop what you're doing or what. Because again, Reed Richards is one of the smartest characters in the Marvel world, even though he's arrogant and not very a likable person, especially in the recent decades. But like that's how you appease to a person of conflict. It's like, understand what they want and see, is there a way where we can help you achieve your goal that doesn't compromise my values or the values of other people or hurt anyone else. And it's like, if there's a multiverse out there where the kids lost Wanda to some sort of Avengers level event, and now they don't have a mother anymore, and you don't have your Vision, you don't have your brother, and you don't have your children, it's like, it's not going to be 100% the same, but it might help with closure. And that's kind of like the empathy part. And then now you're on this mission where you want to see them succeed, but the biggest flaw is that they're using Wanda as the villain or antagonist in this area, and they don't have that third person that's manipulating. Like if they brought in, say, Mephisto, as what was rumored during the WandaVision series, then you have that extra looming threat of like, no, I don't want Wanda to find the children I've taken from her or whatever. I want her to do these evil things, and he's constantly manipulating her
or even
seducing her.
Agatha Harkness, since
Or
they've
even
already
Agatha, yeah.
Yeah.
they've made her a big deal now, but they didn't bring in that third person. And I think that's one of the things that was missing. I do think that this was a heavily MCU thing because, like you said, Jane, I think that the whole America Chavez thing was it was basically her and Wanda's story, really, and then Doctor Strange was kind of like a tag along, and I felt like it was mostly even like I don't even think it was mostly like America Chavez. It was mostly Wanda's story, and it was kind of like a follow up to WandaVision, and I felt like it was really strange because Doctor Strange. It was really strange because Doctor Strange wasn't in WandaVision at all, even though he was
Mhm.
supposed to be originally. And he was cut out because Kevin Feige said that he didn't want to have a white male tell Wanda anything, like mentor her or whatever.
But
So
it was
they
fine with doing that for America Chavez.
exactly. So he
Right.
changed his tune in the Doctor Strange movie, which makes no fucking sense because if you have a follow-up series to like if you have a series that's going on at the same time and then you don't even have that main character be in that series, it makes no sense. Like for example, I went to the movies with my husband and my husband hasn't watched Doctor Strange, he hasn't watched the MCU movie, not movies, Disney Plus series. So he hadn't watched WandaVision, he hadn't watched Loki, he hadn't watched like any of these stuff, right? And especially WandaVision. So he didn't really get like he's like, where's the kids coming from? Or like, there was a certain things that just kind of like he had missed and are kind of integral to the movie. And why is Wanda kind of evil now? Like, why is she like this? Like, like the last time you saw her, she wasn't like this, And so, and I think that that's a big problem because you're alienating a lot of your fan base that was into the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, cinematic meaning movies, not necessarily TV shows. And a lot of people don't have access to Disney Plus. So you're alienating a lot of your audience at this point, especially normies. I just want to go like once in a while to the movies. Oh, it's a new Doctor Strange movie. I'm going to see Doctor Strange 2 to follow the story. Maybe I just saw him in Spider-Man 2 and I want to know, or not Spider-Man 2, sorry, No Way Home. And I want to know what what he's up to after he made everyone forget about Spider-Man. You're thinking about a different movie going in, especially what it's called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So I feel like there's definitely a bait and switch when it comes to oops, we lost Jane.
Jane.
No. Come back, Jane. We lost her to the multiverse. So that like I just feel like there was a huge bait and switch when it came to that. And the idea, like I like the idea of him being a mentor. I don't mind that, but I also didn't like America Chavez as a character because I didn't think that they didn't explain well, like where her she's back. Welcome back, Jane.
Thanks.
Welcome back to this universe. So I just didn't think that they developed her well enough for me to be like, okay, well, she's interesting. And I like the fact that he's mentoring her. We didn't figure out what her power was. Like it didn't make any sense. A bee sat on her and then she got scared and opened up a portal and threw her lesbian moms in there, which I thought was interesting that they were willing to give me enough explanation that she's from a lesbo world or something like that. And she's got the pride flag on her vest. So
I didn't even notice that until someone pointed out on Twitter because it was so small on her jacket. I didn't even pick that up.
But I mean but it's there, right?
Yeah,
So you're like,
there.
okay, you're giving me the message that in the multiverse there's some sort of gay universe where she's from, and then in like the multiverse, the gay flag is the same thing as it is in our world. Like that is just
homosexual
so
procreation
weird.
is a thing in one multiverse. Yeah, I mean they're all weird. That's fine.
That is such a weird thing.
Well, the part too is that they didn't put it on display like it's a circus like performance. It was completely done passive. Like all she said is, "Oh, my mom's," and then you see the rest of the scene play out, and it has nothing to do with pro any of this or anti any of that. It's just, oh, we have this situation. One of the things that kind of was weird about it, and Jane pointed this out in previously in the chat that we were in, is that at some points the portal that America Chavez creates sucks people in, and at other points it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yes.
like, there's a lack of consistency here. So
Yeah, what's up with that? Is it a black hole or isn't it? Like, I don't get it.
I thought it would be a doorway, so it shouldn't really have anything to do with like pressure or
Right.
That's what I
suction.
thought. Because she opens it that way. They stand there and they look through them. No
Yeah,
one
like
seems
when
to
like when
who they
Wanda
are.
was going back and forth
Yep.
versus when her mom's got like sucked into it like
Her
a black
mom's got
hole.
sucked in. The first Doctor Strange at the beginning of the film, his corpse
Right.
gets sucked through with her.
Yes.
When they jump through it again, Doctor Strange and her get sucked through. It's like, okay, so it sucks people through, and then all of a sudden
Wow.
it doesn't.
You hate phrasing.
God, there's a lot of suck we're talking about. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of sucking and blowing, yeah.
Oh my
A
God.
lot
Okay.
of tornado talk.
Real quick, let me get to some of these super chats. We had a $10 super chat. Thank you from Frederick Little saying for $10. What's your favorite Marvel movie of all time? That is a really difficult question, but I think I'm gonna go with Captain America, the first Avenger, the first one. What is that
Yeah,
one?
that's the
That
first
one.
Avenger.
I think that one's my favorite movie. What about yours?
I'm tied with that one in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I'm tied with that one and the Winter Soldier too. But if I have to pick one, it'll be the first one because I just fucking love Captain America and I love the Red Skull. So
Yeah.
one.
Same.
Yeah. What about you, Jane?
Winter Soldier and Civil War, somewhere between the two.
There you go. Great
Yeah,
movies.
they do cap well.
Isn't that so weird that we all had Captain America? Like that's pretty cool. I didn't expect
I
that.
really enjoyed Iron Man, but it was kind of made. It was being written and produced as it was being shot, and it's a little wonky here and there. But the characterizations are absolutely fantastic. But with the first Avenger, it's like a very, very solid film. Like everything just kind of works really well.
I
And
just
also,
loved it. I
They
just
have so
loved
much
it.
heart too, like so much emotion. I really felt the characters in those stories.
Like in
Yeah.
that first scene where he's Captain America for the first time and he's like they're going to that train thing. And listen, I've only seen like this movie maybe twice. I don't even remember. I think the first time I saw it in the theater, I still remember it like in my mind's eye. I could see the scenes. That's how much of an impact on me it had. And like him like seeing the Red Skull for the first time. Like I was like, oh, like that was like peak MCU for me. And I really, really wanted them to like come back to the Red Skull, like for like Captain America 3. Like I thought that he would come back at some point. And I hated what they did to him. I was like, no, like that whole thing with, you know, him being like that fucking soul keeper, whatever the hell for the stone. I thought that was a waste.
that was weird. That was very
Such a waste for like Captain America's ultimate enemy of all time to be like, oh, okay, yeah, he's just fucking whatever.
Right.
I've reformed and I guard a stone in a lake, but
Yeah.
he is another person's life.
Yeah, that's just
So I'm
fucking
still kind of
crazy.
evil.
So weird.
It was just a weird thing. But thank you so much, Frederick, for that $10. And hello, Raging Rhino. Good to see you. Man.
Hey, Raging.
And we had a couple more super chats I'm going to get to real quick. Mr. Buckcrack Media for 5 is asking, hey, Nina, Jane, and Script. So is worth me spending my money to go to this movie? What do you guys say?
How much do you love the Marvel films? That's basically the aggregate there. If you're passive about it, I would say no. If you really do enjoy them, even if they're kind of bad, then I think that informs your decision there.
Yeah.
I got a screener of this. I got a screener of this, and then a couple of other people sent me some links as well to see this film. I went with the screener because it's a professional one. But
sure, it's
I
better.
do appreciate anyone that did send me those. Thank you so much.
I would say it really depends on how much you love Doctor Strange and how much you really dislike the MCU, because I really do think there's a lot of MCU in this, and there's a lot of weirdness. How much you like Sam Raimi, I guess.
There is a lot of Doctor Strange. Like, even if he isn't as prominent as we expect, he's in pretty much almost every.
He's in a lot of it. He's just not the main character. He's not the
That's what
protagonist.
makes it worse.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird, yeah.
It's weird, and I like that. That's why I didn't like that. But I mean, it's up to you. Like I said that at the beginning, if you go in with like literally zero expectations and think to yourself, "Hey, I'm just gonna have fun for 2 hours, kicking back." This is what I said to my husband too. I'm like, "Listen, we don't know how long theaters are gonna be around. Like, this is a thing of the past. Like, the way video stores were and Blockbuster and all those kind of things." I feel like movie theaters are in that kind of zone as well. There's going to be a transition period. I mean, especially in Mexico, I don't know how long they're going to last. So it's like, I want to go soak up that movie going experience while I can, because you never know when it's
Be a
going to
part of
end.
history.
Even when it's a shitty movie, it's like, you just want to go out to the movies, then go, But if you're going to expect like a fucking grade A movie, you're not going to get Captain America and the Winter Soldier. You're not getting that. So just FYI, thank you for the super chat. Test Site for 25 says, how is the color palette with the film? I've been watching Cowboy Bebop and Neon Genesis Evangelion. I really like the unique color palette. It seems now we use a color muted filter, example, Man of Steel, The Boys, etc. It's a bright Marvel movie. It is definitely not Man of Steel or Snyderverse, not muted colors. It's it was much more similar to what was it called? Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bright color. It's very bright.
It's a proper balance of the bright color palette
Mhm.
for a film. It's well color graded. There are some weird lighting issues on some of the actors when they're in certain digital environments.
Which is a lot of times because this movie's extremely digital.
Very.
Yeah.
A lot.
But like the backgrounds are absolutely gorgeous, and colorful and good contrast and clean, and you can easily distinguish between characters, which ones are in shadow and which ones aren't. That's always helpful.
And you know what? I really did like the dark scenes. Like, for example, in the scene where he's fighting his evil self and they're in that kind of like dark room. So it's got this kind of like purple hue, which I really liked because it's kind of like that's the evil Doctor Strange. You could tell. And he's got that like the purple power thing, and I really like that. Like you can see him clearly, and I don't have to strain my eyes. That's something that I was complaining about even with the Northman a little bit. I thought it was a little too dark at times in the Northman, but in this one it was like just the perfect balance. Like I could see it very well. I had no problem with the lighting. I did think that some of the CGI was really fucking badly done, and it was like, but it wasn't throughout the whole movie. It was specifically during actually the first fight sequence. Like I thought that the first fight
tentacle
sequence
thing, right?
With the octopus?
Not the octopus, like the one at the very beginning when they're like running with America Chavez and you start the movie. Yes, in the in between world, and then like that weird creature monster that they're fighting together, and then it like stabs Doctor Strange in the leg. I thought that thing and like that area was kind of like really, I was like, whoa, this is so CG extreme. Like, and it was kind of like not good, not in a good way. I don't know. It was just really weird. I didn't like that part, but I thought that it was better at other parts though.
I agree with that. I really want to kind of be part of whatever lobbying group that makes us return to practical effects, because that was an art form. And with the ability of digital photography these days, you could probably do similar to like the stop motion stuff from like the old Jason and the Argonaut and Hercules days, far more beautifully, and it just looks better, because one thing computers can't seem to do yet, they will eventually, but not anytime soon, is match lighting. So the lighting on a digital object is way different than the lighting on a real object, and when you cross them over together, you can tell that they're not there, because essentially the actors are kind of playing puppet, like imaginary puppeteering with something, and then the animators have to animate to that, and there's something that's missing from that there, because an actor, no matter how good they are, can only do so much.
Yes.
I think if we got a couple of guys in, like, say, a big rubber suit, and they did them some nice practical makeup, and they did the scene, and then you use computer elements to enhance that, to give it some little bit extra life, and maybe kind of like how a skin breathes. Like if it's going to be a giant creature monster, it can't do that in practical, but you can do little tiny effects to make it happen digitally, but everything else is practical. I think that would sell the verisimilitude, which is desperately needed in these films, more so.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that they kind of did really well in the Suicide Squad, like the new one.
Mhm.
I liked that they had realism, but with also the silliness, like, you know what I mean? And it wasn't all super CG'd. That's something I really like about the Batman, actually. Like the new Batman was the fact that it wasn't so CGI, even though I don't like dark, grounded, gritty, whatever. At the
It was
same
hardly
time,
grounded, but yeah.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like
Absolutely.
the realistic thing, but also, like, because of that fact, you get actual cinematography. Like, you get actual someone with a lens, like, you know, this I'm looking
Real
through this
camera
and looking
movement.
a real camera
Yeah,
movement,
I mean, I
real
miss the
life.
days when they actually light a real fire on set.
Exactly.
Which
Yeah.
unfortunately
Exactly.
the Batman didn't do. That's all digital fire. But yeah, like I was actually just watching. I was oddly enough, I was watching an episode of TV, a Lois and Clark show, and
Mhm.
this one guy tries to set the Kent farm on fire, and it's real fire. And I'm like, oh, this is like 1993. I'm like, it still holds up. It captures. It's good. Some of the special effects to how he gets rid of the fire need work, but for the limitations at that time, the guy strikes a match, he lights a gasoline trail on fire, and it's there, and it's instant, and it has that life to it that the computer program can't really replicate, and the
But see,
speed is also can't be replicated.
that's why I like Michael Bay.
No.
For everything people say, he is not afraid to nearly kill you to get the shot. And I love it.
I
I
like
don't think
Michael
he's
Bay
actually
too.
had to use practical stuff in a while, but like, yeah, I mean, in the old days, he really went for it with some stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, actually, like, he did give me a seizure a few times, near death. Like, I was like, bro, like, when I came out of that theater, I was like, whoa, man, like, that was intense. The other movie that did that to me, Jane, was Twilight, like
Really?
the last one, when in that birth scene. And then I
Oh,
read
yeah.
that people literally had fucking seizures at that scene because it was like that weird flashing light.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, I was like, this is fucking intense. Like, what is happening? And I'm not a seizure person. Like, I don't get those, but I was like, this is getting real freaking intense. And then I read that people actually got seizures at that scene. I was like, dude. But yeah,
It's a
so yeah, the
sacrifice.
lighting was fine, right? Just Disney. It was very Spider-Man, just Marvel. It was Marvel. Cosmo James for 10 says, I was so mad that Doctor Strange and Company at Doctor Strange and Company when they stopped to see if Wanda would get through the door. Also, why the hell did they leave the door that leads to the magic book wide open? So stupid.
Yep.
I don't even remember this scene.
They did it twice. The first time is in the very opening where Strange, the Strange we first see, he's holding the beast at bay, and not once does he tell America, go get the book. I can only hold it for so
Yeah.
long. Go get. She just stands there, and it's like, no. The thing about writing is that if you set up your characters with a certain goal and there's a sense of urgency to it, they will do it. And there was nothing there to convey to us that she couldn't do it. It's not like she had doubts or anything. She was just silent and nobody spoke of it. And it is very film school writing 101
Mhm.
first draft mistakes. It's like, okay, so you got to rework your opening, because if you don't want them to get the book, give me reasons why this character can't go on ahead. Is she afraid of heights? Is she unable to leap to the other things because it was Doctor Strange that was helping her doing that beforehand? Does she try and fail, or does the tentacle thing break free too quickly? Like, you've got to give us all these other variables to make us believe the outcome you desire is going to be the logical outcome if they try. And we got that twice. We got that in that scene. We got that in the other scene where they're just waiting in the tunnel after running away from this person.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, we're just going to wait here. It's like, no, you keep running. You lock them out.
No!
Get more distance away from the person.
They just
Yes.
stood there. That was so, oh my God. I was in that moment. I just looked around, like, from side to
This is
side.
what
Like, what
fans
is
who make fan films
happening?
do. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to insult fan film people, but it is, and I want you guys to get better. So please take my advice there.
Hey, I think fan films are way better. I don't even know. It's just they don't have enough budget. But most of the times they're actually better.
Well, if they don't have enough budget,
Story
or they
wise, anyway. Story wise, they're
well, they
much better.
repeat a lot of what they've seen. That's kind of probably why you feel like they better story wise, because yeah,
Yeah.
that's just what it is. Because
But I seldom see them have a character literally just stand there. Just stand.
Yeah.
Not doing anything.
She was useless. I didn't like America Chavez at all. I thought she was useless. I didn't have like they didn't give her any backstory, like other than lesbian moms got sucked into a black hole. And I liked how Doctor Strange kept like giving her false hope. Like, yeah, they're alive somewhere. Like, don't worry about it. No, bro, you killed them.
maybe it's hard to. I mean, she's got sucked in at a young age, and she survived. You don't think two adults together can survive?
No, they're lesbian. No, I'm just joking.
The other part too is that, and this was actually kind of an interesting part, is that even though she couldn't control it, the reflex when it opened always put her to some place in a safer position than where she was from, and only
Right.
would that be compromised again when another threat appeared.
He did tell her that at the end.
Yeah.
Like because he was like, you've always instinctually put us where we need to be or where you need to be or like in a safer location or whatever. So I thought that was interesting that she instinctively knew how to use her power. But then again, it goes into like that whole thing about the MCU and building up the character, having her have these powers that are not explained at all. They kind of did that same thing with Wanda, and I felt like that's why I didn't like WandaVision. That was one of the reasons I didn't like WandaVision, because I felt like they retconned her story from their own MCU, like the MCU verse. Like they went like, oh, she was born with her powers and like she's amazing. And then the stone just kind of brought out how amazing she was because she already
Yeah.
could stop time and she already could fucking do all that shit. And it's like, nah, I liked it when she was just experimented on with the stone.
Right.
And then and then became powerful because she got experiment on.
Well, yeah, the other part too is that it's like practice, right? So let's do a hypothetical. Let's say, Nina, you fly, but you don't know how you fly. And I meet you, and it's like, I can't control how I fly. It's like, well, I can't train you how to fly, but I can help you through various experiments figure out how you do it so that you can start practicing. Because, again, like the argument of training is valid, but if there's no one with experience on that particular skill that has been done, then it's just like how we invented martial arts or how we invented architecture.
Well, then
you have to experiment and do it. And try.
exactly. Like the way it's been done several times with like Spider-Man and how he
Or
figures out
Superman.
his power, or Superman, how he figures out his power. And he's like, oh, okay, I can jump really far. Like Spider-Man's like, I can jump really far. And then, he does it, and then he does it further, then he does it further. And then it's just like he's leaping. It's the same thing with Superman. Like, first he runs really, really fast, and then he leaps really, really fast. And then he realizes, hey, I can fucking fly. And then he finally flies.
Something happens and he expels his heat vision and he sneezes and like a car moves and he's like, oh, I got super breath. And then he plays around with that and he realizes, oh, I can freeze things if I want to. It's the experimentation that's there. And I thought that was really missing from this, is like Strange doesn't take her aside and be like, okay, let's try and figure out how this works. Like we saw the memory scene. Like I think right after the memory scene, he should have said, okay, now that I know that it worked from panic, let's see if we can find some sort of parallel emotion to try and trigger this deliberately for you.
Yeah.
Instead, they just keep on walking away and be like, we got to go find my other self. And I'm thinking, no, you're kind of in a safe point here. Your goal is to try and get back home. And there's two things here. It's like, why aren't they trying to do that while she's walking? Where it's like she's punching her fist into her hand and she's like, can you get like, a portal that way or something small, or just playing around with it and then having kind of a little bit of shenanigans occur
Or like
on the street on their way, which would be kind of funny.
Exactly. Or like having it, like if you want to add that silly factor to it, like, cause she told him like, if like I got scared and then like, I opened the portal. So you could have like him trying to freak her out, like trying to
like they're just walking and she's like, I got scared. And he's like, oh, that's unfortunate. And then he turns around and goes, boo. And then,
and like he does
like
he does like one of those portal things where he like disappears and then comes back from like behind her and he's like, oh, like, and he's just trying to freak her out. Like you could do weird things like that to try and figure out what the power is and why it being used the way being
How to
like
call upon
why
the
it's
power, and
manifesting the
kind of
way
like flexing your muscles. Like you got to figure out how to call a power. Like, okay, pay attention. Like I'm gonna scare you, and you're not gonna know when, but try and pay attention to what you did, and we'll
right.
try
What
and
did you
recreate
think
that.
about instinctually? What did you think about immediately? What was the first thing you thought about? Like, like that kind of thing, right?
Yep.
I think that would have been really, really cool. But thank you so much, Cosmo James, for that $10. Matt G for 5 says, as Agents of Shields fan, it's so over the top hilarious that an inhuman character makes it to a movie, but not an original AOS character. LOL. Yeah, that was interesting to me.
Well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been divorced from the MCU, so it's not canon.
Yeah, but I didn't like any of that. Like that entire Illuminati thing was just so stupid.
It was so out of left field.
It was so and it was peak MCU because it was like they were like, okay, we're gonna we're gonna give you characters that you wanted in the MCU forever, like Reed Richards and like this dude right here. I forget what his name is, Black Bolt or whatever.
Oh, Black Bolt, yeah. And Sam Mount comes back with the tuning fork on his head.
Yeah. So like we're gonna give you Black Bolt, we're gonna give you Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and we're gonna give you Professor freaking Xavier, like in the MCU for the first time, and then you see like literally the three dudes die within literally 30 seconds, and then you have Black Woman Captain Marvel, and Pegging Carter,
who did look
like,
more female in this version than the cartoon version.
well, thank God, because I mean, Haley Atwell is a freaking beautiful woman.
Oh yeah.
So then they had them fight and hold their own against Wanda for quite a long time. I mean, I think Captain Marvel went the longest with her, but it was really weird that Reed Richards got killed the way he did within like 30 seconds. I would have liked to see him put up a fight, at least put up a bit of a fight. Like we didn't see anything. And
John
then
Krasinski's
Professor
not much
Xavier.
of a fighter.
Well, I mean, he still does stuff though. I mean, he is still Mr. Fantastic. Like it was just really weird, and like they wanted to be funny. They're like, "Oh, let's turn him into a spaghetti." And like, it felt like a spit in the face to the fans. Like it was just kind of like, "Oh, could we get Reed Richards for the first time in the MCU and you're going to kill him off like that?" Like that is just so it's just
The
so
fact
stupid.
that it comes kind of effortlessly, because again, his appearance doesn't really make an impact, which is also a disservice, because it's like the first time you're going to bring in this character, there should be some sort of like sparkle or spark to get fans excited to be like, oh yeah, they're going to do Fantastic Four. It doesn't matter that this is not the Reed Richards of 616 or whatever. It's like this is the first taste the fans are getting of an MCU quality character.
Yes.
Let that have some resonance. It's okay if you kill him, but make sure that everything has impact and importance, so that when the official announcement is made and the casting is made, people can actually like get behind it because they got that taste. And instead, they just are like, okay, we'll just grab John Krasinski. He's gonna phone it in for 5 minutes. We're gonna spaghettify him, and then
I hate this. Let me just tell you this. I freaking hate people who are like, oh, this is just the variant. Like, it's not the real one. I don't care. It's the first time we see him in the MCU. It should have been a way better version. It should have been something like that. What you're talking about. We needed that big time moment. We needed him to actually put up a fight, or at least fucking think of something with your brains, because you're Reed Richards and you're fucking smart as shit. But we don't get any of that kind of stuff. Like there's nothing, and they literally just destroy him in like 2 seconds. It's just awful. And then Professor Xavier. I mean, the fact that Wanda is was able to out psychic Charles Xavier, to me is kind of like it's a joke in itself. I didn't like that. Jane, what'd you think of that?
I mean, I thought it was believable if she is as powerful as she has been presented to be. I mean, it makes sense, and I like how she did it. My bigger issue was with Monica Rambeau. If they really wanted to do something with that character, they should have taken her back to the 60s version where she had the long hair and the white suit. That would have been pretty cool to see.
I would have liked that too.
Instead, they turned her into basically the black version of the Captain Marvel we've seen before. So it's just
well, that wasn't Monica Rambeau. That was the mother. The Lashana Lynch played. Like Monica Rambeau we saw in WandaVision.
but that's who it should have been.
It should have been her. Yeah, it should have been her as like Proton with the sexy white costume and the 70s style like costume with the big flurry sleeves and the tight fitting.
Let's pull up a picture of that. What do I look up? Captain Marvel.
Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel comics, 1980s, I think would be the decade she was introduced in. Because she had two very similar costumes. One where she didn't have any leggings, and another where she did. And
here she is. This would have been beautiful.
That would have been quite the reveal.
Loved to see this. This is way cooler than what we got.
But then they all died instantly, so
yeah. Instantly. It was terrible. I didn't like it. What was even the point?
There wasn't one.
That's not her. Well, that is her. That's the WandaVision version. I mean, like this. I'm looking for the comic one, but I guess this is the best picture we have. So yeah, it would have been cool to see her. Oh, there she is.
There you go. Yeah.
And then look at the hair and everything, but no, they had to give her the.
Yeah, she gets in the comics. She gets her powers. She worked for the Coast Guard in the comics, and she gets her powers by basically wearing a red string bikini and flirting her way onto an oil drill platform that's conducting peculiar experiments with energy.
Whoa! Hello.
Yeah. It's good.
She looks cool in here. I like this. What is this?
Fan art, I think. Looks good.
I think this looks great. Why can't we get stuff like this?
Doing it better.
It's always fans doing it better. I tell you. God. MC, you got to pick up your game, man. Thank you, Matt G, for that $5. Demogenite for $5 says, I'm pissed that they teased Shuma Gorath, Octopus Monster, and then ended him way too fast. Shuma is supposed to be a badass like Dormammu. I was surprised too. I'll say this, like I was actually really surprised that he was one of the first monsters. Like when I saw the trailer, I thought he was going to be like one of the like a mini boss, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought he was gonna get more of a role than what we saw. I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
Less disposable, I think.
Yeah, less disposable. They made him really disposable, whereas in Suicide Squad, which is I know it's DC, but you got the same thing. Okay, it's a freaking one-eyed monster with tentacles. But in the Suicide Squad, he was like the main bad guy, and that made not bad guy, but like the main kaiju freaking monster thing for normies that wanna watch that. And I think it had a much more like bigger impact in Suicide Squad than it did in Doctor Strange 2. And speaking of the super chatter, Demogenite, here he is joining us for this episode.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the rebellion. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
All right, there we go.
How's it going?
You know what happened was I opened up my Celsius and the bloody thing exploded all over everything. So I was
oh no.
I was not very happy about that.
Ooh.
So I was a little flustered over here.
That
but yeah,
sucks.
How's everybody doing?
We're good. Is your equipment okay? Hey,
everything seems I ran and got some paper towels real fast, so it wasn't so bad.
Okay. Well, do you want to expand on your super chat? Thank you for the $5, by the way.
Oh, no problem. So yeah, Shuma Gorath is supposed to be a god. He's conquered dimensions the same way Dormammu has. So and he shouldn't be. I don't know if they called him that, but they had him looking like a Shuma Gorath. Shuma Gorath is, like I said, he's supposed to be a badass. Like literally, like he's one of the top tier like villains. That he's really a Fantastic Four villain, but it still would have worked, because he's in interdimensions. As far as like with you were talking about Captain Marvel, that's actually Maria Rambeau, not Monica Rambeau. That's supposed to be her mom.
That's her mom.
That's what Doctor.
Which-
I was gonna say that's what Doctor Strange said, and I meant Script Doctor. Oh my god!
Well, now you're Doctor Strange, sir.
Wow.
That's fitting.
A complete waste of a character.
Yeah, there you go. That's Shumagorath. Yep.
Shumagorath. Wait, so this is not the same thing as we saw in Doctor Strange? I thought
It
it
sure
was.
looks like him, right?
Looks a
Yeah.
lot like him, yeah.
Yeah. And
But
they
it's
made him
not
into a
him?
joke.
Look, it's like the Avengers
Yeah.
and Fantastic Four.
You need the Avengers to beat him. That's how bad he is. He's a badass.
He's like pretty. That's what I'm saying. That I didn't expect him to be like the first, like kind of like the first thing that they do, and then
The
it was
first thing
pretty
that they
easy.
dispose of.
Yeah, and it was really easy. Like it was just super quick. I don't know. There's just some things about this movie that makes no freaking sense.
But it seemed like all of the action scenes were just rushed through.
A lot of
it 2 parts.
did seem that way. Well, we know that there was a lot of reshoots too, right? Like that was the one thing. Real quick, Raging Rhino said this. I can't believe that Magneto wasn't in this movie as he is her father.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the MCU universe, but surely he is somewhere in the multiverse. I thought about that too because they thought that, they introduced Doctor Strange. And I was like, this is the perfect. I'm not Dr. Strange, Patrick Stewart, Dr. Xavier.
Yeah.
And I thought that, or Professor Xavier. And I thought that they would introduce Magneto for the first time. I was like, maybe they're going to finally introduce Magneto. But then again, they've already retconned her in the, in WandaVision. So they were like, she was born to those parents. Like we've already seen her parents, unless they're going to say that she wasn't born to them, that they found
Magneto
her.
kind of fled from his children, or I actually in one version story he doesn't know that they existed for a very long time because they were raised by another family,
right?
Which would make sense if they do that storyline.
And that
Wasn't
that
one
would
of them
make
like a
sense.
hippopotamus that helped raise them or something, and like
Yeah,
the
some
wilderness?
crazy crap like that. Yes.
What?
It's a little bit tricky to get your bearings with some Marvel stories.
Wait,
and
was it the
origins.
hippo from Moon Knight? Because they had
No.
the hippo in them.
No, if it wasn't a hippo, it was like
No, that was a guy.
It was like
I know.
a bull or a ram. It was definitely a female version of a wild animal that was anthropomorphized.
Wow, you sounded you're describing exactly the hippo female god from fucking Moon Knight. That's exactly what it was like.
Maybe it was.
Yeah,
And, sorry, and I was going to say real quick, being that you guys are talking about Professor X, I was in the background when y'all was talking about him fighting Wanda. People don't understand, like Professor X is Omega level mutant. Like he should be able to handle Wanda. He can handle Jean Grey, who is as powerful, if not more powerful than Wanda. He can
when she's
handle
possessed
Jean
by
Grey.
the Phoenix, when she's possessed by Phoenix, he can handle her. Yeah, because he can build those walls.
Yeah, and I heard like Flash on them talk about a certain comic series. I forget what they were calling it, but they were talking about how they had to like put out Charles Xavier like into sleep because he could control Wanda, and they didn't want him to, so they had to like make him pass out for a while.
They had to put him in a coma, right?
Yeah, they had to put him in a coma or whatever.
You got to figure when he turned to when he took all of Magneto's anger and he that got unleashed inside of him and became Onslaught. Professor X is a problem. You don't understand.
Yeah,
he
That's
is
what I'm
a problem.
saying. And then
Professor X
he
is not supposed
dies.
to get taken out that easy.
30
Absolutely not.
seconds, Demogeny, and he's like, and then all of a sudden she's like behind him, and she like makes his brain explode. Are you fucking kidding
No, she breaks
me?
his neck.
Oh yeah, that's
which is
right.
weird because that should have been a cascading event where she breaks Professor X's neck, but she didn't really break his neck. She broke like an illusion that Professor X put in her brain that he's hiding behind, and it just keeps on going where she keeps killing versions of him but never can find the source because that's the type of technique Professor Xavier can do.
Yes.
Yes. So they basically had her outsmart him.
Yes, because she's the bestest ever. This is the MCU. This is what
Or
I'm
took
talking
advantage
about.
of him in his old and weakened state because unfortunately the poor actor's 82 years old.
Oh God. I just
and
didn't
he's
think
in a
they
bumper
should.
car wheelchair.
I didn't think that they should brought back. I didn't think
James
that they should
McAvoy would probably be better.
Yes. I didn't think they should bring back Patrick Stewart. I thought, Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier got the best ending in Logan. Like he was done They should have left him alone, and now he's back for like 5 seconds, and that's the kind of way that they treated him. And I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate any of those cameos. I thought I would, but I didn't. I was like, ugh, like all of it just seemed so anti-fan. I don't know. It was really weird. They're like, well, let's give them fan service while at the same time shitting on their characters. Like
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
no sense.
All the characters you wanted to see, we're going to destroy quickly.
Yeah.
And even though I do enjoy the X-Men, I do think that Professor Xavier is not morally superior to Magneto. I think he's done some stuff that's made him very, like, you can love his character, and I do love his powers and the fact that he's trying to do good with his students. But he often, whether it be for considered bad writing or just a betrayal of the premise, too often does Professor Xavier overreach with his powers to manipulate others for more selfish stuff that he thinks is altruistic when it really is actually antithetical. Because like the whole reason X Factor, I think, became a thing is because Cyclops and Jean couldn't trust Professor Xavier, if I remember correctly. I might. It's a long time because again, I haven't read all the comics of Marvel.
I remember. I mean, I haven't read like any of the comics actually, to be honest with you. But I've watched the X-Men animated series in the 90s, and I agree with you. I think that Charles Xavier was a very morally ambiguous character, and morally gray in that sense. And like he would make some decisions where I was like, well, what the fuck? That's pretty similar to what Magneto might do. Like because they were trying
It may
to
not
say
be
that,
as extreme, but there's some sort of overlap
But wasn't that the point, though, to make them both sort of morally gray in their own way?
Yes, that was exactly the point, because they were trying to say that that's why these two are so similar, but at the same time they just have some key differences, and and that's the thing, and I think that a lot of the times the moral X factor, if you will, for Charles Xavier was the X-Men, like, and how they dealt with certain things, or like how Storm would deal with something and then would tell him like, I don't think you should do this, Professor X, or like, I think we should do this. And then he would be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. That's the kind of thing that was really cool. Whereas with Magneto was more like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah, because what's kind of there's an irony to Professor Xavier where Magneto doesn't trust regular humans because of the habitual nature of tribalism, where Professor X claims he does trust them, but there's a number of instances, I'm pretty sure more adept people at Marvel Comics can point to, where Professor Xavier has manipulated people for particular outcomes to kind of prove that Magneto is kind of right, that you can't trust them as a tribe, but Professor X is saying I can trust them as a species. There's just certain individuals you can't trust. I'm like, that's kind of ironic and antithetical to, but it makes their conflict very interesting.
That's really interesting. Matt G with another 5 says they made Cap Marvel in the movie unlikable, and they didn't have to. It makes you want to see Wanda beat her. Wanda didn't lose any fights in the film. You know what, Matt G? There was definitely certain points in the movie, I'm not even gonna lie, that I wanted Wanda to win. Like I was like, at this point I just wanted her to destroy all the MCU. I was like, why don't you just kill everybody? I liked seeing her kick ass. I thought it was fun to see her fly around and go crazy. They had set her up to be that powerful at this point, so I didn't have a problem with her powers. I had a problem a little bit with America Chavez. I don't think America Chavez should have been that powerful. It didn't make any fucking sense why she was that powerful at all.
I don't like that character at all.
I don't like that character at all.
I don't like
either.
how they portrayed her in the film.
What kind of powers are you punching stars in the place? Like, I don't get that.
I don't know.
It's like dimensional things. I don't understand the rules to it yet. Because the thing is, like, really, when you're introducing powers of this nature with a mystery, there should be some sort of underlying relatability to it. Like when Obi-Wan explains the Force, he's like, yeah, it can do things, but I'm not going to give you all the details of it because that'll spoil the potential. But I'm going to give you something to get your beak wet so you know cool things could happen. With this one here, we have a character who's been doing this for probably about a decade, it looks like. Bouncing around, and she conveys very little information. And I saw in the chat earlier, someone's like, oh, the fact that she thinks food is free. As a screenwriter, when I heard that, I saw that more as a joke, that she actually is more ignorant about where she's going and doesn't really have the experience that she thinks she has, because
Mhm.
the instant she says on most universes food is free, Bruce Campbell comes up and says, "Hey, pay for that."
Yeah,
Which
where's the
basically is the
Exactly.
contradiction, which is like she hasn't actually been. She's just been stealing food all this time, and why? And she only can because she probably doesn't have currency, because currency might be different on every universe. So how is she going to get? You know, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she stole her jacket or her clothes. She could, just assuming that it's free because she's in and out so quickly.
That's what she
And
said.
yeah,
Oh my god. Here's the thing too is I know she's really young and I don't like shitting on young actresses, but I didn't like that actress. I didn't like her look. I didn't like her acting abilities. I just didn't like her. I didn't like that character. I thought she was not great, mediocre at best.
I don't know why they started her out at this particular age when she seems so much older and more mature in the comics.
Mm.
It's almost like a completely different character. And I agree with you. I don't like this particular variant of her compared to the comic version we were introduced to not too long ago, because she's still very new. So and then add on top of that the fact that you don't understand her powers and she doesn't understand her powers and she doesn't seem to do anything to experiment with the powers. Things just happen. They happen to her, they happen around her, she does things, and none of it makes any sense. So how are we supposed to appreciate her at all?
Right. I'm just pulling up some pictures of her. So this is the American
She seems so much more cool in this.
America Chavez in this. Look at this. I'd like this portrait that somebody painted of her. That's cool. Again, but she does seem older than what you said. Whereas she seems like a I don't know, like a 14-year-old girl. It's like, I don't know.
12, 13. I don't even know.
I
how
thought
she's
she was like
feeling
18
her.
or 19, something like that.
Yeah, like I
Not
thought
in
she
the
was like,
movie.
there she is. Like she's like, I don't know, 14, 15, maybe 16.
She doesn't look 16 to me.
She definitely, like, I mean, look at her. She's got the shorts here. I mean,
Pants, yeah.
she ain't got no freaking rainbow flag. I can tell you that much. All right. Well, I mean, I like the curly hair more. I thought they could have done a little bit better with that. I don't know. I just didn't like this
See, that one looks
actress. I
20
didn't
something.
like
I always
her.
thought she was 20 something based on that look. But then you show me a kid who looks maybe 14. And it's just
Yeah.
weird.
There she
Yeah, there's
is.
too much ambiguity on that. Even though, like, I felt the actress did an okay job and was not a pain in my butt to watch, because she is kind of being dragged around and she's playing off the confusion and the concern and the doubt fairly well. But again, she's like, the character itself is missing something very core to it for us to actually really get on board with them. And I think that's basically the agency. Like, she doesn't really have much agency on her own.
Right.
I'm sorry,
they made
but
her,
are you
they
guys
made her
seeing
young
this? What is
so
this?
that they can keep her around for a while. As far as being in the MCU, like the actress herself, they put her in there young so she can be around for, because they're gonna lean on her. They're gonna lean on her. They're gonna lean on her.
Yes.
Ms. Marvel. They're gonna lean on Captain Marvel.
Yes.
That's why they're doing it. They got. I think that's what they did. It was more of a strategic move for, as far as excuse me, as far as the actress, her age, to age her up into this MCU version. Then you will finally get the older America Chavez. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking.
I could see that. But I bet you Doctor Strange won't be around for that, because they've already introduced his replacement at the very end of this, and we'll get into that.
Well, I knew who Leo was. I knew exactly who that was as soon as I saw her.
But did you guys see this? Like, what is this? Gay League? What is that? She's in the Gay League, America Chavez Gay League.
I am not familiar with
That might be a
I don't know
fan
what that is
thing.
either.
Oh, that's probably a fan thing. She's cute. Like her character is kind of cute. She's not like the worst thing ever.
I love her
But
art.
She's
and her
definitely
style.
better than the artwork than Ms. Marvel. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, but I don't know. That I just didn't like that actress. I don't think she pulled it off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They
There was
didn't give her
something
anything
really-
to do though.
That's one of the things, is
that's
that
true.
she was very thin, as a character, considering the fact that she's essentially the Helen of Troy in this. Like, she's not the title character, but she's the object of the desire of two different character, well, at least in this case, one character, another character just on guard to protect her. So she ends up becoming kind of like the Maltese Falcon, you know, the Grail, the magic elixir, whatever you want to call it. And when you kind of inanimate a character like that, it does cause a lot of suffering on the development of that character. And I think, again, it's back to screenwriting 101. Like if I were to read this script, I'd say you got to fix your opening act. Doctor Strange needs to have more agency in this. Your America Chavez character needs to have more agency in this. And you need to really challenge the motivations of Wanda to make sure that the heroes that she's going up against are actually being heroic. And her obsession with getting her original children back has to have paramount emotion for her. And what's funny is that Elizabeth Olsen was acting quite well in this with her
I
trauma.
loved her acting
and
in
her
this.
tragedy and her desperation, which was great. But
Mhm.
you're just missing those extra little elements for us to see why she would push out every alternative and only.
And I
want
think that's
these
all
things.
writing. That's
Yeah.
all like the writing,
is.
because I think that Olsen did a really good job.
She did do a good job.
I really thought that I was rooting for her at times. There was a point at near the end of the movie where Wong is giving that speech to her about, like, you know, isn't it good enough for you to know that, like, you know, that they're out there, they're being taken? And she's like, no. I hated that part because I was like, wait, Wong just told you exactly what
was
the
shown to
issue
her
is.
later.
And then was shown to her by
Right.
America Chavez, and then she was like, okay. And I think I don't like that, because I'm just like, it was already told to you, so you're dumb and you can't like listen, basically, so you just have to see it for yourself. And like,
But
you
she could have
know,
seen it for herself without killing everybody first. Like, they dumbed her down so much for this.
They let her emotion. Here you go. Here's something insulting. They let the emotions of a woman get the better of her.
well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like they were saying that she was an emotional female and she couldn't listen to the men, and she had to like be shown by another woman what this is, because you know that's like that's the only person that can talk to her in her level is another female. And then like the idea to me that, like, because okay, when they go get that book, right, like the evil book, and like
The
at that
Darkhold?
point, the Darkhold, and like at that point, Doctor Strange had already touched the book. He was already like, he had the evil kind of like lurking inside him or whatever. Like, that's what she said. But it was weird though, the way that they went about it, because there was a scene where like he used his dream wake or whatever, where he could see where she was being held. Like, you know, remember when he like took that like little like thing and he was like, oh, that's where she is. That's where I need to go. So it's like, it's not like he couldn't have done that for her either. Like, he could have just shown her through his power. Like, instead of America Chavez being the one that solves the issue, it should have been Doctor Strange solving the issue. And that's why, to me, it's like peak MCU, because the protagonist, Doctor Strange, who is the title character, doesn't even like have a solution to the end of the movie. It's fucking America Chavez, and like he's like the pep talker. He's like, you can do it, America Chavez, and she's like, okay, and like that, and that.
Which again, it feels a little empty because we don't have those like either an extra beat or two extra beats where Strange is helping Chavez kind of come into her own independently. Like it's just, it's kind of missing there. It feels like we skipped over something, like something was cut out, because this could have, because again, American Chavez, her situation in the relationship of things is a Luke Skywalker role, and it doesn't feel like she was given the quality or attention to her character and her character's journey to have that conveyed. It felt like they were doing the cliff notes, and the writing and the production was like, oh yeah, everybody's going to get it, and they're just going to fill in the blanks for us, which is something actually very terrible. You don't want to spoon feed your story to your audience, but you don't want to have to make them work and correct the mistakes that you made in your own film. And that's kind of the egregious aspect that kind of happened here. because there's nothing to say that, oh, you can't have Doctor Strange overcome his flaw of allowing others to come and step into their own and work as a team and be kind of like a leader, because that's the other part too. It doesn't matter if America Chavez did defeat Wanda, but she did so as a result of Doctor Strange's leadership. That's not her circumventing Doctor Strange. That's Doctor Strange coming into his own and at the same time saying, I have done a good enough job with you that I know you can do this.
That's right.
Exactly.
And that's what you want with, because I like the father-daughter relationship that they had with each other. I liked how he was smacking her ignorance emotions down as a parent would, but at the same time trying to say, you can do this, you can be better, we gotta not be, silly type of thing. Like, trying to be a parental figure, which was, I was very surprised with that approach, because I was not expecting that type of relationship for it, because given the pattern with Marvel films, you would think that those two would be kind of butting heads in a very, I'm better than you because of this immutable factor thing. When we actually did not get that, I was actually kind of happy that there wasn't that type of messaging.
I know what you're saying, script, but at the same time, like, and I agree with you for like in some aspects, but for some aspects, I'm just like, no, I just wanted a Doctor Strange movie. Like, I really just wanted to see him be fucking Doctor Strange, kicking ass, and like, just, like, if you're gonna make, Wanda the villain, that's fine. Like, make Wanda the villain, but have him be the one that goes up against her and being like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna excuse you for, torturing several thousands of people in Westview, and I'm not gonna, let you just go for killing and murdering and torturing
and stuff.
all of my colleagues.
You know what's just crazy? The crazy thing about it is when she went through all that with the Westview thing, I would think she'd have been more remorseful. It's just like she went totally the opposite way.
She went the opposite way because she got the Darkhold and it like possessed her. I guess that was where I got that from. That's what I thought too, Dimaj and I.
Yeah.
I never thought that she was remorseful. When she was in the little cabin in the woods, I felt like she was plotting then. Or even before then.
I didn't think that, Jane, because I thought maybe she's going to that cabin in the woods to kind of like give herself penance or whatever. Like, I don't, sometimes some people do that.
Whoever condemned her actions though?
Nobody, but she kind of did that for herself at the very end, because she was like, I didn't mean to do this, and then yes, Monica Rambeau like was saying to her, no one will ever understand your sacrifice or whatever, but she did seem somewhat remorseful when she found out she was actually torturing people.
Exactly.
And that's why she took off, because she was like, you know what, like, I might as well go trap myself in the mountain somewhere where I'm not going to hurt any more people. I'm just going to go become a recluse. Like, I kind of got that, so I figured maybe that's what she's doing. But then she went the total opposite way, because she got this super Darkhold, and
Doctor Strange wasn't remotely concerned about it. Like,
no,
that bothered me too. Yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I understand he's supposed to be egotistical, and I understand he's a morally ambiguous character too at times, but I don't think he would be that morally ambiguous. Like, whatever. Like, who cares?
It's all right. You just tortured him and abused people for a few months. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
It would be more interesting as if Wanda is walking and she steps out of the orchard, and all of a sudden Strange appears. She's like, you're off your exile like land. You're not supposed to be stepping on here. You're in self-exile in this section. You know what you did is wrong.
Right.
The only reason we're letting you do this is because we know no prison can hold you.
Exactly.
And I'm only here because I need your help. And it's not going to make it's not going to like help you get parole any faster or anything of that nature. It's just
yeah, we don't trust you yet. Like we don't trust you yet, kind of thing. And I would have liked that, and I would have. And okay. And the other part about this that really did bother me, I actually was very bothered by it, was the fact that there was no Vision at all in this series.
Too.
I think Vision belonged in this story because the entire movie, which is, again, I think it's false. Like, it should not have been a sequel to WandaVision, because Doctor Strange never showed up in Doctor Vision. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
He never showed up in
WandaVision.
freaking WandaVision, so it's like if they had done that, great. If not, because they didn't, then no, the connection is no longer there. So if you're gonna make a story, you have to make a brand new story. But since they did that, then you would expect to see Vision, because that is the entire reason that she created that world. Is in the entire reason that she even created those children. So for her to be just looking for the kids, like, doesn't really make any sense. Because
And they didn't even show her. They didn't even show him in the alternate versions either.
No, he
Like,
was
because
nowhere.
to be technical, he actually exists in the MCU. Which, by the way, I refuse to call it MCU 616. The comics is 616. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Sure.
But they in their MCU, Vision is technically alive because he put himself into the White Vision, basically.
Yes,
like his essence is in the White Vision.
And
So-
wow, there's so much phrasing there, but still, here's the thing. My God, the amount of phrasing.
Pause. I gotta pause myself.
I know, but okay, but here's the thing, though. I would have even liked seeing, like, in the alternate universe, where she's like, she went to get the kids or whatever, that human Vision was there.
Yes.
Like that
Yeah, they
would have
didn't
been
have
the
to put-
father.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, and then you see her hurting him. Like, like, and then maybe that would wake her up or something like that, because he was a key factor to all of this, and he's nowhere to be found. He's like, we know that he remembers their time together as White Vision. We know that, like, he's somewhere, he's gone, but like, you would think that he would have heard about her going fucking insane and wanting to, like, do the Darkholm thing and going to, Doctor Strange's place and trying to, like, kill everybody. You would think that Vision would have heard about this, or like any of this. It just doesn't make sense, and he's nowhere.
And that's a fundamental flaw with MCU, especially when they're trying to. It's kind of the same thing, even when you talk about with comics, right? Where they have these major events, and wait, why didn't you know about that? So simple. I know it's not the same movie, but when you think about it, Infinity War happens. Where the hell were the Eternals? You see what I'm saying? Stuff like that. It doesn't make sense when you're trying to connect all this stuff. So you're right. Where was Vision when this is happening? Because this would, at least, like you say, he could have had. Because I know putting him in all the mocap and all that might have been expensive. I get it. If they could have still had Paul be there in his human form, they could have did that.
Even a glimpse, like you can even have a fucking glimpse.
They didn't have
like
a photo of him.
They didn't have nothing. It was like, okay, like, I don't like what happened with that guy. Is he not part of the MCU anymore? Like, is that why they took him out completely out of the story? It just makes it so bizarre to me that they wouldn't.
She even brings him up that she had to like kill. She even brings him up that she had to kill Vision, and it was all for nothing because Doctor Strange did what he did.
Yes,
And I'm like, then why aren't you also looking for the multiverse where Vision exists as well as your kids?
As well as Pietro, who is also somebody who was, very existential for her, because the loss of Pietro led her to, lose herself the first time. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why Vision came along and, consoled her, and she fell in love with Vision because she lost her brother. Her brother's character was also, very, very influential in her character growth, especially in Avengers. But like now,
and keeping her stable too.
Exactly. But then they teased us with Pietro in WandaVision.
That pissed me off.
And it was fucking terrible. And then now they're like, oh, here is, like, Reed Richards and Professor Xavier, and we're gonna just totally destroy them. Meanwhile, there's no Pietro, there's no Vision. It's just
here's a mess. I have a question though.
Okay.
Here's a quick question. The kids weren't real.
No, they weren't.
Right.
They were real in the other universes, because it's a multiverse. So of course she's gonna have kids in some universe.
Well, my point is, she did create them, right? I'm remembering that, right?
Yes, she created them.
In the WandaVision show, she created them. In the other multiverse shows, or other multiverses, they probably have different types of origins. It might have been a proper conception and birth as opposed to the magical one.
But why didn't she just recreate them?
Why didn't she just recreate them? That's a good question. She has the power of the Darkhold, and she can manifest lots of things.
That's right. That is
that's
a
really
very
good
point,
Yeah.
Very
I didn't even think about that.
The whole
That would be a great thing to have if they used Mephisto, where she couldn't bring them back because Mephisto was messing around with her chaos magic as a a beyond or demon like thing.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, Jane, until you just said that. I'm like, why didn't she? Why didn't she just recreate
she had the
it?
dark
She
home and
wasn't
everything.
sorry. Like, she clearly wasn't sorry about what she did about WandaVision. Like, she was like, whatever, I'm just gonna do it again.
I'm
Even
gonna
worse,
do it again. Even
I'm
more
gonna just
gangster.
tear the fucking multiverse apart so that I can, like, bring back whoever the fuck I want. But why don't you just do it again then? Like, I don't. You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Hey, real quick, one thing I don't think y'all talked about, but the Illuminati, which this was a perfect opportunity for them to bring back Black Panther. They could have did that because
they
the Illuminati in the comics is supposed to be Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Professor X, Black Panther, Black Bolt, and I think
Tony Stark.
And Tony Stark, yes, and Tony Stark. So it's 6 of them. That's what's supposed to be in the Illuminati. They had a perfect opportunity to do that. Captain America
Peggy
is
Carter
not
too, right? I think Peggy
no,
Carter.
she's not. She's not in it.
She's not in it.
No, there's no Captain America. In Illuminati.
There's no women in the Illuminati technically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sexist.
Well, they could
a
have
little
that.
bit. However, the Illuminati subtextually in Marvel is not a very heroic or good group. Actually, it's kind of like the group of them abusing their powers.
Morally ambiguous group, I guess. Wait. Theorio God of Rage, thank you so much for the $5. Says Magneto hasn't been Wanda and Pietro's parent for almost a decade in the canon. But it would still been an interesting point of entry in the MCU if they wanted to do it. But I don't think they're going that route anyways. So, I mean, I'm fine with it not being the case. I just didn't like how they brought back Professor X and then killed him off, though. That was fucking stupid.
That was dumb.
Shit. But thank you for the $5. And again, Theory God of Rage for another 2. Don't worry, Chavez sucks in the comics too. I believe you. She just was a freaking terrible character. I would have liked to know a little bit more about her power and how. You know what? One of the things that really bothers me about her character is that it's really similar to Nightcrawler, and I think Nightcrawler is way cooler than her because that's like his power too. He can travel the multiverse. That's like literally.
Well, no, he technically teleports, but when he teleports, he goes to Mephisto.
But he goes into space between spaces.
No, he goes into Mephisto's realm. That's why when he comes back, you smell a sulfur. He actually goes through. He goes through Mephisto's realm and comes back to us. That's what he's technically doing.
Wait, then who is the dimension person in X-Men? Because there is one. There's one that like kind of goes through the multiverse. Which one is that one?
Is it one of the Mojo Jojo guys that he tortures?
Yeah, I think it took about what's his name? I'm going to join a blank on his name. Oh my god,
it's something Star, I think.
Yes, Long Star.
There you go.
Long Star. Okay, maybe that's one.
This blonde dude that's got a thing over his eye. He can pop through different dimensions. Yeah.
Well, Bosch McFadden, Azazel is Nightcrawler's father. Nightcrawler's parents are Mystique and Azazel.
I like that name, Azazel. Sounds like a cool name.
Yeah,
Matt G for 2 says Wanda has the biggest backstory of any MCU villain. Yeah, I mean, I guess,
but she's not a villain. Everything she did.
She's an antagonist. Often in the MCU, more so than Black Widow is.
Yeah. I
she
don't
was part
know.
of the Brotherhood of Mutants, and so she was an enemy. Then she went on her own. Then she went crazy. Then she came back. Then she was part of the Avengers. Then she wasn't. It's all over the place.
Maybe it's long shot. I don't remember.
In the comic book for Marvel side of things, they take a bit more of a earnest approach to like the soap opera, daytime soap opera, dramatic stuff. They have that little bit of the pettiness there, but they also throw in a bit different elements of stakes so that it doesn't feel like a daytime soap. But there are enough parallels there, primarily in the 80s that I noticed when I was reviewing some books in Marvel at that time. But like in the 60s and 70s, it was a bit more distant from that. But in the 80s, it kind of got heavy. In the 90s, kind of went more into like the rule of cool. And I got out of them in the early 2000s. But from what I'm hearing is that it's way more preachy and soap opera now in more recent issues than ever before. I don't know if that's 100% true. If there's differences, please let me know in the chat. But that's what I'm getting through some of my friends that are still buying comics and keeping up with their collections.
What did you guys think about the zombie Doctor Strange and the whole one of the things I really didn't like also is the fact that he literally didn't do anything with the good, which one was the good book when they went and got the good book?
They couldn't. It was destroyed immediately.
Yeah, I didn't like that. It was like, okay, like
it was the Vishanti, I think it was.
I kept on calling it the Ali Veshti, but it's not that.
It's
I'm just gonna call it the good book. Okay, so they go and get the good book.
Yeah, Vishanti. I think it's what it was called.
Okay, so they go to get the Vishanti, and it literally gets destroyed within like 10 seconds. And I was like, you could have done anything with it, like not even one little thing. Like there's no payoff to
They
any
didn't
of
have time
it.
to grab a page out of it. Nothing.
Nothing. Like
Yeah.
it was like, you're done. Bye. Like I was just, what the fucking point was that?
Bye-bye.
For that. Like, yeah, it was just like there's no point to any of this. And that's one of the reasons that I really don't like. I just didn't look. Yes, the Book of Ashanti.
Ashanti.
Oh my god. It just didn't seem like there was any point to any of it, and I feel like it like that's one of the things that really left like a weird thing with me with the movie is that there was no stakes because you know it's like a multiverse, so it's like, oh, we're gonna kill off Reed Richards, but he's not really dead because he's a variant, and we're gonna kill off Professor X, but he's not really dead because it's like this, and it's the same thing with everybody, right, including Wanda, who ends up ending herself in the end of the fucking movie, which I thought was lame. I didn't like that she ended herself. It was just so
that was dumb. She could have just
boring.
broke the dark helm and lived. Like what are you doing? Like
why not become fully evil?
Yeah, why not commit, right?
Yeah, why not just commit? Both of them too, because I think it would have been really cool if they actually committed, because at that point Doctor Strange had also touched the Darkhold, and he was like, he had the evil Doctor Home or Doctor
Evil Eye,
the evil eye, whatever. And it's and Wong is like, you gotta kill her. Like if you want this to get solved, you gotta you gotta kill America Chavez. You gotta get her power, and then so Wanda doesn't do this. And I would have been fine with it. I would have been fine if Doctor Strange had actually made that choice and been like, you know what, fuck it. Fuck
you know what's crazy too?
Well, yeah.
I was gonna say, how is Wanda Sorcerer Supreme and he they have everything all whacked out of there. Like, he's the Sorcerer Supreme, but Doctor Strange is actually stronger than him. Basically, he has
but he also like rubs it in every 5 minutes. I'm the Sorcerer Supreme. You're supposed to bow to me and like blah blah, which I didn't like. I thought those things that didn't have humor, like those were the dry humor things where I'm like, really, is this funny to anybody? Was anyone laughing? I don't know.
No, but like to your point, Nina, about that whole Wong saying you got to take her powers, which will kill her. It's the only way. That would have had more gravitas if there was like that extra beat where Strange and Chavez cared for each other, respected each other far more than what we got. Because right now there's just so much going on with the pacing, the running and stuff. We didn't get that moment of him actually caring for her as a potential student, as someone that's important, and her valuing him as a teacher and a mentor, so that when he gets that choice and you're like thinking, and it reflects back to that opening act where it's like, apparently they had that deep relationship there, where she feels like she might be betrayed again. And she's like saying, it's okay. And he says, no, what we have is valuable. You're valuable. You've earned what you can do. You know what to do. We figured it out. The only thing that's stopping you from doing it is you, and you know that, and it justifies the pep talk because we've earned that pep talk by seeing the steps taken,
by seeing the practice and the trial and error, blah 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 blah.
And you don't even have to make it like a giant montage. It just has to be to the point where she kind of figures it out, but she just needs more practice exercising that muscle to do it, so that when she does punch that screen and that star happens and it shatters a little bit, she's like, oh, I think I've got it now. And
but
you just
they just remove them from that entirely and give as the explanation, you're a different Doctor Strange. You're a better Doctor Strange. And that's the only reason he doesn't kill her.
Yeah, I didn't like that because I
I
was
didn't like
like, you
that
know
either,
what?
yeah.
I think I would have killed her at that point. You're fucking annoying anyway. You don't know
He's
what you're
out for
doing.
blood.
Yeah,
He's out for blood.
I'm over you. Either that or have I don't know. Like somebody needs to commit. Like nobody committed. Like everybody, like freaking Wanda is like, yeah, I'm evil, but maybe not really. Like it's like, nah, she's evil. Like why don't you just make her fucking evil? Like who cares that she saw her kids and her kids got scared? I'd be like, I don't give a shit. Like she just possessed their own like their mom.
Nina like F them kids. She going evil.
Well, it's like if you're gonna be evil, commit. Like I just don't understand. Like, can you not? Like, can you just not commit to any of this? It's I don't
Well,
know.
You know what may have been an example of that is having a flashback to that Wanda holding the kids, right? Everybody thinks it's the one from that particular universe, and then you just see something in her eyes that shows you that it's not, that it's the Scarlet Witch,
And she's like dream
that she
walking or
has in
something.
fact taken over. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And see, that whole thing too was just dumb. Like, because it was like they go to the dark home, and then the like, like the castle's got like Wanda, like the Scarlet Witch is somehow like prophesized in the dark home. Like it's literally her throne. And she's like, it's my throne. And she like sits on there. She was literally like freaking Cersei from Game of Thrones. And then she brought down a building on herself. And I was like,
prophecies are not a very good story tool, in my
I
opinion.
don't like it. Well, neither is the multiverse. And that's what they're doing. They're using the multiverse to just bring in whatever the fuck they want and then being like, nah, never mind. It's not real. There's no stakes. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, to be fair, there's no stakes in any real comic book because in comic books you could always bring people back. So
I mean, that's like that with sci-fi too, but not
Yeah.
really. Like, no one has ever truly gone. Like, I understand that concept, but at the same time, you can have major stakes as well in sci-fi.
Well, I will say this. This is exactly why I really appreciated, even though they did do a little skip in the EU, like right after Return of the Jedi, but with the clone with Palpatine, but they did it right after. But my point is, like in Star Wars, the one thing, this is the reason why I know I'm jumping a little shark a little bit, but the reason why I have such a higher standard for Star Wars as opposed to MCU, because the comics always had that aspect of multiverse, right? You always had that existing, but Star Wars is supposed to be a straight line. There's no jumping. So when people die in Star Wars, sure, you can have them come back in the Force, but they never really come back. Unlike with comics,
they'll come a way to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. You got the Lazarus pit. You got,
and that's why
Scarlet Witch can wish people back. All that stuff. So
you got the Phantom Stranger and Spectre doing stuff, as opposed to like Chewbacca died in the EU.
Yeah, he's dead. That's it. He's dead.
Yeah, and that's
Mara
why
Jade died, dead.
That's why when people
died, dead.
Yeah, that's why when people say like Wanda didn't really die either. I mean, technically, yeah, because there's different variations. There's like variants of her everywhere. I'm sure. Like there's like thousands of variants. But that version, like our version, died. Like the MCU, the Wanda that we had gotten to know for that entire Avengers ride. That was the end of her arc.
Yep.
Like for all intents and purposes. Now I don't know if they're gonna if they're gonna do WandaVision season 2. I don't think they are.
I don't think so. No.
How would they do that though?
No, they wouldn't. I mean, unless they're gonna like twist it around that this time like Vision's looking for Wanda. Oh, Vision is like, oh, I'm gonna create my own holographic universe and bring Wanda into it because I'm sad that she's dead and freaking Doctor Strange killed her and I'm mad at him now or something. I don't know. But they're freaking dumb. Let's see here. Real quick, Therio God of Rage for 5 says, Nina, did you try the new Moon Knight comic I suggested? I haven't, dude. I'm sorry. I've had no time. It's just been so busy. I haven't read anything recently, but I'll check it out. I did watch Moon Knight the series and that.
I didn't even touch that.
Stop. I
couldn't get through it.
It was terrible. It was freaking terrible. So 200 Watt Studios says if Vision was the father of the multiverse children, have been a great way to solve the problem. Vision, Wanda, these are not your children. They are ours. You would take my kids, Wanda.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
That would have been really interesting, but there was no Vision at all. And not like in more
Double
ways than
entendre.
one. Yeah.
Apparently he never existed. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently he's nowhere to be found at all. Apparently he doesn't give a shit about Wanda. Like he didn't love her at all. What Matt G for 5 says, Wanda started off as post-credit tease in somebody help me
The
out
Winter
with this.
Soldier.
Thank you. Stucker said, there's nothing more horrifying than a miracle. She did end up as bad as Hydra intended. Yeah.
Well, she should have, but like you said, they didn't follow through with it.
They didn't follow through.
I wanted
In
her
the
to be
end-
incredibly evil, just downright disastrous for the world, for all of the universes. But no,
I did too. I wanted her to commit to being evil at that point, and I was like, "Can you just destroy the MCU at this point? Like, just be like, fuck this world. Like, here we go." But no, she
didn't.
didn't.
Though. I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, what she's doing is just dumb because she would have known to find the children with no mother. Like that would have just made logical sense. But on the other hand, if she is that dumb, but she is a mother who's incredibly hurt and in pain and angry with the world for taking her children, then she would be on a rampage.
Yeah,
She would
and
destroy any
also
universe if she stopped her.
influenced by Darkholm, because that's the other thing. That's the other factor.
That's true, yeah.
Is that she was also like her rage and anger and everything was amplified by the book, and it's like so evil, and it makes sense in that context of like, okay, she was like possessed by this evil book and everything like that. But again,
But it was always, I felt like it was always in her though, because we saw her reaction to her
Yes.
brother dying. And she
Yes.
nearly exploded everything around her at that point. So it's like it was always just under the skin there.
Yeah, she was always like kind of like on the edge. And that's why it was really interesting when Vision came along and like, her like she was being mentored by Iron Man and like, different people that were kind of like telling her, you got to control yourself, you got to control your power. You're probably the most powerful one of us. We know you're powerful, but you're also a great ally if you learn to control your power and your emotions. Right. And that was a great thing. Like that was a great part of her story. But it's also a great part of the story to have a great villain. And she had the potential to be that. But then she decides to end herself when like America Chavez is like, it's okay, Wanda. Like, here's your kids. Like, I don't know. It's just something really, and it wasn't even anything to do with Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange is like in this weird corpse thing. The zombie.
So you made a good point there, Nina. The villain, right? I always say this. And Script, you could probably attest to this too. What makes your movie, especially when you're talking about a comic book movie, your villain is paramount. And I think that's a big problem with what I mean, with phase 1, 2, and 3, we knew the big bad was Thanos. We knew we didn't really know what the goal is. They did definitely change up his goals from the comic books to now. But the villain, your villain dictates how strong your hero has to be, because whatever wall that villain puts there, your hero has to overcome that. And where's the villain at here? I mean they made like, even with a lot of people like Killmonger, even with Killmonger, he kind of like, they try to make him sympathetic. Like they don't have a villain for be villain's sake. Even with Thanos, they still made it like, oh, he was trying to balance out things, where they could have just made
he got cocked in the end. I felt like Thanos got really cocked. Like from the beginning, he was just so menacing and overshadowing and like just so crazy. And then by the end, he was like, oh, I just wanted to like balance out the universe. It's like, just what the fuck are you talking about?
Thanos is cussed in the comics too, so.
Well, I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that he was basically simping over Lady Death, but at least that was like, it was basically pointless killing at that point when you think about it, because he's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna kill people because I like death. So that to me just seems more crazy, like the Mad Titan. He's supposed to be the Mad Titan, like he's crazy. He's worshiping death so much that he's just gonna kill people for reasons. That makes him more of a less what what's I'm looking for here?
Well, a lesser threat, because he's killing people to get Death's attention so he can win her affection. Like, and it's very selfish and self-serving. Where the twist that they did with Infinity War is like, what if Thanos is doing this as to save other people?
Yes.
And the thing is like, oh, so he has an argument that has a very weak spine of logic to it. Because what we've learned, especially over the last 200 years in our culture, is that we as a species can accomplish more even if there is less. Like, we know how to get more out of less than we ever did before. And that seems to be like a natural type of instinct for survival, or natural deduction for survival. But like, you're absolutely right, Damaj and I, when it comes to your hero is only good as your villain, because there's this thing called catharsis, and a lot of people know this word is. It's basically like the ultimate release, the need to have that kind of like sense of accomplishment, and everything just kind of washes away afterwards because the challenge was so great. The greater the challenge, the greater the level of catharsis, the greater the victory, the more meaningful the victory. It's like what I was actually bringing up on the crazy Twitter thing that was happening to me last week with Man of Steel. It's like he's given two options. One is attack the world builder in the Indian Ocean, which has no population other than any country that's on the coast of it, but it's not under immediate threat. Or you attack the other part of the world builder in Metropolis, where people are being hurled around by the gravity forces. Well, the more challenging one is to go to Metropolis, because there's an immediate threat of danger with the people, and then there's also the built on top of threat of that with the world. But in the movie, he goes for the easy one, which basically says, okay, so now your hero is not so much of a hero. They're going on a strategic level. They're willing to sacrifice a city to save the world, which is a very human type of thing to do, a very limited type of thing to do. As a military, it's like, yo, you've got two targets. You bomb this one, you get the bad guy. But if you bomb the other one, you stop the battle at hand. It's like, well, we'll let the battle go on because we're going to take out the bad guy. It's the lesser of two evils. That's where you want to make sure, like, no, your hero has to go up against more challenges. And if they overcome those challenges, it justifies the title of them being the hero of that story or that comic or that television show or that movie. And you want that because you want the sense of hopelessness. You want the risk of failure, because the risk of failure creates drama. And what we strive to see in our story is drama. And if we don't get the real drama, the real threat, the real consequences, the real stakes, then what we're end up getting is basically a hollowed out story. And you're absolutely right. With Wanda, they give her all this power, but it doesn't feel like it's hitting the beats and the stakes that they really need to, because it's a very intimate thing. It's like she gets the power of America Chavez, and she can go to whatever universe she wants and help her kids or what have you. What does that do to the rest of the world and the rest of the multiverse? Well, technically nothing, because she's keeping it very intimate to just these two kids and her. And it's almost to the point of like, well, what's really the challenge here? Well, we're stopping her because she's going to kill America Chavez in doing that. And basically the heroic aspect of it, the thing that I actually really did enjoy with Doctor Strange, is he's like, just because you want to get your two kids does not give you the right to take another person's life. And that's a heroic thing. It doesn't matter how altruistic they are, how intimate she's going to do, how respectful of the power she will have with it. The fact that she has to achieve that power by taking someone else's life is immoral, and Doctor Strange does not agree with that. And I'm like, that's a cool heroic.
And the crazy thing about that too, she already takes people's lives because she killed the Illuminati. She killed everybody there.
And she killed all those students and master sorcerers at the
master sorcerer. That's what I was saying. Like, I would be pretty pissed if I was Doctor Strange and she just killed like all my fucking friends and all my students.
None
that
of it mattered. There was no emotional impact from that whatsoever.
Nothing. I would have liked to see Doctor Strange be more. I don't know. It's just like I wanted him to have the main story. I wanted to see a Doctor Strange movie where it's like literally about him, like discovering, like, I don't know, like something to do with him and Rachel McAdams, or her character, like Christine, and like what's going on with them, like their love story. Like I want more from the actual character, and I didn't get any of that. And I really do like Wanda as a character, but now it's like, where are we going with all of this? It's I don't even know.
I think the problem we have in Lino, to answer that question, is the fact that they are in such a rush to put out these new characters. See, America Chavez didn't need to be there.
I didn't think so
She didn't
either.
need to be
No.
there. To be fair, like, they could have done like they did with all the rest of the Avengers. They could have, started them out like all of these new characters. Like by the way, you're going to give Miss Marvel her own. Did she get her own show?
She's getting her own little miniseries. Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting
well,
her
the
own
Marvels,
show.
right? Like the
No,
Marvels.
the Marvels is going to be Captain Marvel's new movie. But Miss Marvel's getting her own show. Like,
she is? I didn't know that.
They
Oh
give
my
her her
God.
own show. Like,
I'm not interested in any of
me
this.
neither. But to me, what would have made sense is instead of and that's the thing. We all know the formula. They want to attach these bargain brand heroes to the bigger heroes. That's what they're doing. And by doing that, they're taking away from the actual heroes. So they're gonna push these characters anyway. So what I would have done, I just said, great. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take America Chavez. I would have just did basically a mini Marvels, whatever show you're gonna have, and make that be their introduction. Put all your new
weirdo
MCU characters, whatever you get, bargain brand characters, put them in that show, and then let the other characters build on their own. You know what I'm saying? Like, just and then
all the
meet up in
shows
the middle.
should be yes, that and all the shows should be an offshoot of the main story. Like meaning,
exactly,
like, it should be just a substitute.
Exactly. You know what's great? A perfect example is like, let's say you're having your main movie, and then like I forget what show it was. It was telling a story where like you see something happening in in the foreground, in the background, whatever's happening, your other story is what's happening back there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have
exactly
like that. Like
well, I did that with Get Smart actually.
Which
Get
one?
Smart had the comedy Get Smart. With Steve Carell. They had their main movie, and then they had their straight to DVD background movie of the Asian and the fat guy Tex with
it
was a background movie, and it ran parallel to the Get Smart film.
Yeah, and that would be
great,
perfect.
That's the technique that you're describing that they did. Yeah.
Well, and I like the older model too, where this is what they used to do, and that's why the Marvel shows on Netflix was a lot better, in my opinion. Like, for example, Daredevil, where Daredevil was a side character. Mm-hmm. He's got his own thing going on, and he's a substitute. Once in a while, they'll mention, like, did you see what happened in the whatever happened in New York, or like whatever. Like they'll be like mentions of it, but you don't need to watch Daredevil in order to go and watch the next movie that's coming out for Marvel. It's just a side thing that you could go and have fun if you feel like it. If not, it's go ahead, Jen.
The problem, I think, is that they don't want to actually invest in those stories the way they could. I mean, what they're doing, this particular method is a shortcut. And it allows them to degrade the other characters to show how these are the bestest ever version of the old characters, instead of just introducing them as their own characters in their own stories and develop them over time, maybe years, maybe, I don't know, a decade, until people actually like them and understand them and want to see them in their own features, in their own feature films, or working together or with the main characters. They're not willing to give them that time for us to really get to know them.
And this is something that Lofty brought up yesterday that I completely don't agree with, but it is
Nobody
very
agrees
true.
with Lofty.
But he's right though. He was right about this. Is that this is their new model because they want the movies to be commercializing for the MCU Disney Plus shows. Like the movies are now
using
secondary.
The movies to bankroll the shows, because
that's
they're not
right.
you're not making any money off of the Disney Plus. You're making the money off of the movies.
Well, it's actually kind of more similar to the DVD and Blu-ray market. The movie was the commercial for you to buy the physical because they made more money on the DVD and Blu-ray back at the time.
Right.
It was that period. Now the movie is the commercial to subscribe to Disney Plus. And make money that way. I mean, it's an interesting strategy. I think it's short-sighted.
I think it's short-sighted and stupid, and it's a bad business model, and they're going to miss out on a lot.
I don't like anything they've been putting on Disney Plus.
And it's fucking terrible. All their shows have sucked anyys.
Yeah.
But having said that, though,
except for Turner and Hooch, which is not going to be renewed because it's not woke.
Oh, sorry, Jane. What was that you said?
No, I was just saying that they're not putting any effort into it. I mean, the writing's terrible. It sucks. So why would they actually succeed. They don't seem to understand that they're going to have to create real stories around the characters. You can't just have the character exist. That's enough. She checks all the boxes. That's not enough. It's not enough for the casual fan. It's not enough for the long-term fans. It's just it never will work that way. That's not effective. And I don't know how much money they're gonna have to lose before they figure that out.
I don't know either. Is it just me or is Jane roboting a little bit?
She
little bit,
roboted
yeah.
a little bit there.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
the other part too
My
is
internet's going.
there is a threshold of money to lose. Problem is that I don't think Disney is anywhere near that threshold because
I
again,
don't
they
think
have a
so either.
They have a very loyal and dedicated fan base that's keeping this stuff going.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Jane, I know you have to go, but before you go, please share what you thought of the final scene of the movie when Charlize
Pointless.
Theron showed up.
Absolutely. Oh, that scene. I think we just see the replacement character. Basically, like that was the entire point. And it just is one more layer to the MCU aspect of the film.
I think so too.
I don't like when they do that. It's becoming irritating because it's so obvious. They're not even trying. And so yeah, I'm out of it. I'm checked out. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm kind of
good at all
getting
of it.
checked out too. And I'm not excited about any of the stuff coming out. Like I'm like, and honestly, I might even skip Thor: Love and Thunder. Like I've zero interest in this movie. Like, I mean, somebody would have to pay me to go to this fucking movie. Like I'm
AMC
so
movie
checked
points.
out.
AMC movie points. That's how I want to see it. But I will say this. What intrigued me a little bit about it was that it looked like she was going into Dormammu's world. So are we going to get a little more Dormammu, because showing him the way they showed him was really kind of trash. They really didn't even show a real good version of Dormammu.
No, they
Dormammu
kept
was
him-
supposed to
I
look
thought
like,
they were gonna come back to that in this movie. It would have been
Yeah.
kind of nice, but
Yeah.
that nothing. We didn't get any of that.
yeah, because Dormammu was supposed to look like a more badass version of Ghost Rider. Like he has the flaming head and everything.
Theory of God of Rage for 5 says don't know if she's a replacement. Clea, I think it's Cleo, is strange wives in the comic.
Yes,
she
that
is,
is
but I
true.
also heard that now they've actually talked about replacing her completely, or have already
In
replaced
the
her.
comics, in the comics, I think she is the new. But she was technically the Sorcerer Supreme in her dimension anyway. In her
Okay.
dimension, she's the Sorcerer Supreme.
And that's why I
So-
said she's the replacement. She's the new one.
Which
Yeah,
is weird
she's
because
our
Charlize
replacement.
Theron is quite older than Benedict Cumberbatch.
She looks hot still.
Oh no,
I
she
mean,
looks
still
great.
hot.
I mean, she's adopted a couple of kids, so she hasn't gone through the traumas of pregnancy to lose some years. But so,
Oh, I thought her name was Cleo. I guess it's Clea.
It's clear.
Oh, okay.
but yeah, it's strange that you get an actor who actually has a higher price tag and is good 5 years older minimum than Benedict Cumberbatch, with the intention of her becoming the sole Sorcerer Supreme of the current MCU eventually, I guess, after a couple of movies.
I don't like it. Now it's like
a weird
Wong is
choice.
like fucking rubbing it in our face that Sorcerer Supreme is him, like over and over and again. And then now they're like, here's Clea. She's gonna be your Sorcerer Supreme soon in the MCU. And it's like, I don't want any of this. I don't want it.
I don't want it. I don't want it. She's McQueen. She's McQueen.
Theory of God of Rage is like for 2, Clea is Dormammu's niece. Damn. See, I didn't know any of this.
I didn't know that one, but that makes sense.
But having like on that note, Jane, if you have to leave,
Yeah.
please plug yourself before.
That's what she said.
You can find me here on YouTube, where I post movie and television reviews and occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jane Theory.
That's right. She's also got a review of this crappy movie on her channel.
do.
Also, you can find her here most Sundays. And what else? Follow everything Jane is doing because she's amazing. She's also doing Naomi reviews with heel versus baby.
Oh my
I don't know how you're doing that. Like
I don't either.
I will say this though. I will give them this. I can't believe I have to say this, but I'm gonna quadruple down on this. Superman and Lois is freaking awesome. I can't believe how good that is on the CW. It is a good show. I like that
It's
show.
like, how is it the same network? I don't know.
I don't understand it. I don't understand. It is.
Well,
it
that's
is
how I felt
actually
about the
great.
first season of Arrow. Like first and second season of Arrow was great, and then it's just like worlds different to how they ended it. But
Oh yeah, it went off the rails real quick.
yeah, Jane, thank you so much for coming by
later,
tonight.
Jane.
Thanks for having me. It's
Later,
been so much
Jane.
fun. Later,
Th-
guys.
If you have any other final things to say about this movie, now's your time.
It sucked. All right. Bye.
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 How about you guys? Do you have any final thoughts on this movie? Because I
Listen.
think I'm Doctor Stranged out. So
I'm going to say this. I want to
go ahead,
surprise everybody. I didn't hate the movie, but there are definitely issues with it. Again, my biggest thing is like when I went into this movie, I view the entire MCU as a what if. That's how I view it. Once after even with the phase 1, 2, and 3, which it did deviate a little bit from the comics, it was relatively safe, but it still was not exactly 100% comic accurate because you really can't do everything you do in the comic translating to the movies. So I always viewed the movies as almost an extension of a what if. Now it's just like they went all the way into like the 20 feet deep pool of the what if. And
now this whole movie was what if.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I was like, what?
So that's why I have a little more tolerance for it. I did give it a 7 because I didn't hate the movie.
7.
I gave it a 7.
God,
I gave it a 7 because here's how I view a movie. When I leave a movie, if I'm not disgusted, I automatically put it at a 5. If I'm not disgusted, it's a 5. And then you get your points from there or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, Hollywood really did a number on you. They're happy with that.
That's how I feel about Lofty, because Lofty's like, this is an 8 out of 10. And I'm like, 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 is a little much. That's a little much.
No, bro.
I'm giving so the 5 is not being disgusted. Then you get 2 points from me for the okayness of it. So that's how I view it. If I'm not disgusted, you get a 5, and then you get your points from there. That's how I view it from there.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, that's how I view
it's technically like a 2 out of 5, which if you think about it.
You know what's so crazy is I gave Batman a 5. And I just feel like I just, in all good conscience, I cannot give this anything greater than a 5. Like, there's no way that I can be like, this movie was better than the Batman. Like, it
wasn't better. It wasn't better than the Batman.
Even with its length, because I had a problem with the length of the Batman. I thought it was too long. I thought it was too grounded, too dark, whatever. Like, there's a lot of things that had issues with the Batman, but a movie, like as a movie, it was much more desirable because it was an actual fucking movie, not a green screen for, God knows how 2 hours. I don't know. I just thought it was a much better movie. So there's no way I can give it better than a 5. But then again, I gave Morbius like a 3. Now I feel like I need to take Morbius down to 2 so I can give Doctor Strange a 3. Like, because
I gave Morbius.
You have to recalibrate your grading system. This is a numerical grading system.
It's too much shit. There's too much shit. That's what's going on. Is that like, you remember back in the day where we used to give movies like 5 stars or something like that? Or like we had like, Siskel and Ebert, they give it a thumbs up.
Oh, they give it
or a thumbs down,
Yeah.
Now we have to have like
poop
emojis.
You can give it 2 snaps so I can live in color.
No, but like now we have to have poop emojis. Like this Marvel movie is gonna get this many poop emojis, like instead of stars, because it's like, okay, let's evaluate the level of shit it's at. That's basically where we're at with Marvel.
That's a Mark with the C thing right there. He gives it flushes.
Yeah, like how many flushes do we want on this one? Like, is this an Amber Turd special on the
more
bed?
More the flush is the more bad it is, right? Because more the flush is, the more bad it is, because if it takes more than 3 or 4
like
flushes,
how many to flush it down?
Yeah, how many to flush it down? Like,
that's
or is it
right.
like a clog?
Like, is it a clogger? Like, that. Oh God!
Is it a clog? Now it sounds like a Fatal J stream at this point.
Oh my God! Well, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, okay, when we're talking about cloggers, let's say, like in the MCU, like I feel like I didn't even watch the Eternals or Shang-Chi, so I feel like they're kind of like the cloggers. But the
was
ones
so
that I've
bad.
seen is like Captain Marvel. Like I feel like that's a fucking
Yeah,
flogger.
Captain Marvel was definitely like a 5. Like that was a bad movie.
5. See that? I no, bro. I would
was like
never give that movie a 5. Like that
I mean,
was
it's
like
a
maybe
betrayal of the character. Like they were trying to make her the female Tony Stark and didn't understand what made Tony Stark to emulate for her.
they
Like that's
ruined Nick Fury like
Yeah, that part was
completely. I
trash.
was like, are
Well-
you fucking kidding me right now? I was
Well,
so mad about Nick Fury. Like there's no way. I would give that movie a 1. Like that was like a 1 for me.
The thing about Nick Fury is that he actually lost his eye from his brother, who was a Hydra agent.
Yeah.
That's how he lost his eye in the comics. But I don't know what the hell what they call it. I don't know what a flirt.
The only thing I give it, like
flirkin'.
the only point that Captain Marvel had basically was like okay CGI, I guess. Like like that was it. Like, oh, it's a pretty movie, I guess. If you have no idea what's going
It
on,
was
and
so
you just wanna
good.
be
It was so
entertained,
good.
one.
She's not even getting a sequel anymore. She's actually
No,
she's
it was a
getting
fucking terrible
ensemble.
movie. So
She's
then,
getting an ensemble.
then you go to like something like Morbius, where even though it was awful, like it was actually a fucking terrible movie. But at least he got to beat the villain of the movie. Like he beat the villain. Like Morbius, who's the title character, beat the villain. Whereas in Doctor Strange, he didn't. So I feel like that's that should be counted. I don't know. I also thought like Morbius was comically bad. So like there is watchability there if you want to just watch it and just like laugh about how bad it is. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Like when you watch something and you're just like, this fucking terrible. I'm just gonna watch it and laugh at my ass off at how terrible it is.
No, I've seen Batwoman.
Exactly. Like that. Like I think like Morbius has that going for it, whereas in this movie doesn't. Like I don't think it's like terrible funny. Like it's like I don't know. It's just such a weird movie. But I can't give it a 5.
Weird, I
There's
think,
no way.
because I think it's weird because there's enough in it that has the potential to be very good and be a good Marvel film, but it's not there. It's very rough. It's not refined. It doesn't have the finesse. It's basically like you hire a carpenter that says they're professional. They got a big reputation to get like a garage built. And then when you leave for the day and you come back and what you see is basically a falling apart barn with a steel door hanging off its hinges. And you're like, this is not what I paid for.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly it. I'm just like, I feel like I went to the ice cream shop and I asked for like, chocolate ice cream. And they gave me like, triple flavored, like
they gave you
strawberry.
vanilla with like Nestle Quick powder on top.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, that is not what I wanted at all. Victor
now
Fontaine
ice cream.
says, I think you need to subtract 5 off Demagedai score. 5 to 10 is actually 0 to 5. I agree with this. Like, I think
that's why I think it's a 2 for him.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't. There's no way. I think Attack the Mountain is like with us too. Like, I can't place this movie either. It's difficult. So
as far as dumpers, I think Thor: The Dark World was one of the worst MCU movies.
I've forgotten that movie.
That's
so it must
one
have
that
been
I
a
fell
dumper.
asleep watching.
I did not like that movie.
I don't even remember.
I thought
it.
Iron Man 3 kind of disappointed me too because they destroyed the Mandarin.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie either. I remember. Wait, is the Thor one the one where he loses the eye and then he becomes fat?
No, that's Ragnarok. That's Ragnarok.
I fucking hate that movie. That's a
well,
dumper.
actually, Ragnarok he didn't get fat. He got fat from Infinity War.
Yeah, he got fat.
That's true.
Endgame.
Yeah, that's true.
He lost his eye. He lost his eye in Ragnarok, but
I didn't like Ragnarok because he lost his eye, and I was like, he's so pretty. Why is his eye gone now? He didn't.
I didn't like the fact, this we were talking about Thanos before. A lot of people was putting in a little, bets on the fact that Hela was supposed to be like a stand-in for Death, right? Since at the time they really didn't have, I don't think they had the rights for Lady Death because she kind of like falls with the X-Men a little bit. I'm not sure.
I think there were rights issues. I don't remember why, but yeah.
So it would have made sense because she was the master of the underworld, right? So it would have made sense if they made her the stand-in of Death because they introduced her. They basically got rid of her because she should have been who Thanos was basically worshiping. That would have made to me. I thought that would have been
Mm.
dope because
That
they
would have been
introduced
better.
More intimate with the Thor storyline at the beginning of Infinity War. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that would have made. I would have made a a nice little marrying of the two movies, but no, they got rid of her. Like I thought that
And
was she's supposed to be a badass character.
And in this movie, again, like going back to the Disney Plus shows, like, and this is why I feel like this is ultimately going to fail. Because I mean, they're counting on the MCU fans who've they've earned that trust through years of putting out good quality content, right? Like through the movies. Whereas now, I think they're it's a little bit of a hubris. Like, for example, with Loki, like they have Loki. And then they introduce this whole multiverse thing where Kang is the one that picks like the ultimate universe, and he's the one that is doing all the shit. And then we hear this, and then we watch this movie, and we're like, "Well, what the fuck is that about?" Then, like, there's no sense, there's no thread that is making this make sense, and it's just.
So I was talking to somebody today at
convoluted.
my job, and I was like, "We don't know who the If we just mirror what was happening with phase 1, 2, and 3,
Mhm.
by the sixth movie, which we would technically be at right now, we had Avengers and we knew who the big bad was. We knew Thanos was gonna be the big bad. I'm like, who is the big bad? And my buddy was like, "Oh, it's got to be Kang." Kang is he's not a threat like that. Like when I'm thinking, you got Thanos who wiped out half of the life in this universe. Then you talk about Kang, like I don't think Kang was never that, he was a Fantastic Four villain, but nothing to the fact that you needed the Avengers to be.
It's almost as if they're making the villain like the white man. Like, and then they're like, we're just gonna replace all of our white male characters and then just turn them all into like blubbering idiots, including the new ones like Reed Richards and Professor Xavier that we're gonna introduce into this universe. And we're just gonna make them like blubbering retards and just completely destroy these classical characters that everybody love. You know what? Fuck you guys. Like, I feel like that's the main enemy almost. It's like it's an ideological one. Like there isn't an actual protagonist. It's just an ideological protagonist at this point. I mean, antagonist at this point.
Well, I don't even think they're going to be going on the Avengers level of things anymore. I think they're trying to transition for Kang to be a Fantastic Four, and then if they're successful with Fantastic Four, which I don't think they will be, they'll probably strive for Annihilus. Because and basically, I would say do Annihilus before Galactus, because Galactus is kind of the one you want to like end on for a Fantastic Four arc.
Yeah.
And then of course there's Spider-Man. Like we don't know where they're gonna go with Spider-Man. Like is Spider-Man even gonna be a thing now that his arc is kind of done?
The one thing I will say about the Spider-Man movie, at least at the end of this movie, he's almost Peter Parker accurate in the comic books because he's by himself. He doesn't have.
I loved it. I loved it. I love that movie. I when it comes to like MCU movies, like that's like I think that might be my second favorite. Like next to Captain America, I think that's probably my second favorite movie at this point. Because I loved it. I love that movie. And I think like if we're talking about, oh hey Tom, good to see you.
Hey man.
What's up,
If
Tom?
we're talking about what's the word? Like like how good MCU movies are, like No Way Home is by far the best MCU film in a long time, like since Endgame.
Yeah, well, I still say my top favorite is Winter Soldier. Like I'm with y'all. Like y'all were saying, it was all the Captain Americas. Like I like the first Avenger, but I did it in reverse. I like the Winter Soldier more than the first Avenger, but I like them both. Civil War, not a popular opinion. I wasn't head over heels with that one.
I wasn't either, Demanjana. I only liked it because it introduced Spider-Man. I was like, oh my God, Spider-Man!
I loved how they introduced T'Challa and Spider-Man in those.
Yeah.
I was literally screaming in the theater, like, I love Spider-Man! Like, oh my God, I'm such a Spider-Man girl. Like, it's like actually weird, but I just love that guy. David Amaro for $5. Is that a Pokemon? Like what? Kind of looks like Psyduck, but it looks like a fucked up Psyduck.
No, it's a duck-billed platypus, I think.
Is that what that is? Oh, okay. All right.
Isn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. It's freaking funny though. I like it. Says when Wanda used magic, why didn't flowers appear like in WandaVision finale? I don't even remember that.
I don't either.
When did flowers appear? Are you talking about like the field she made? Because they did do like she made that flower field in the end, but like she got rid of it though. That was her chaos magic. I don't know
Yeah,
what
it
you
wasn't
mean.
real, right?
Yeah, it wasn't real.
I don't know.
remember.
That's a good question. That's
Yeah, I don't know about that one. There's a lot of stuff like people bring up and I'm like, hey, that's true. I didn't see that or this. And then I don't know. There's just so much stuff about this movie that they just missed. It's like missed a beat. And you're like, that I think that's what bothers me so much about it, Script Doctor, is that it had so much potential. And then it's like, we're just gonna not do that.
yeah, it's like a very disappointing date. Like the person is
Yes!
gorgeous and knows how to make a great impression. Then you go out and you're like, so tell me about yourself. It's like, no, there's not much.
Yeah. You're like, so tell me about yourself. Let me tell you about my mom. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Or they have a very oddly intimate relationship with their sibling. You're like, what's going on here?
Well, you know what's funny? I was just about to say that. Who was I think I was listening to Flashcast, and the one dude was talking about the one girl he was dating, and she was like you just said, like had a strange relationship with her brother, and I'm like, how do you bring that up? Like
that's a weird
you're
thing.
supposed to keep that to yourself. Like I wouldn't do it at all. But I'm like, if you want to do it, you might as well. That's supposed to be something you keep to your grave. That
was a great episode of Friends. Did you guys ever see that episode?
With George Newborn, yeah.
Yeah, where Rachel's like going out with that one guy, and then he's like has like a really weird ancestral relationship with his sister, and then like they're like, and then Chandler and like Joey are like, oh, sorry that like he's cheating on you, Rach, and she's like, they're brother and sister. He's like, that's his sister. Like, oh shit!
Wow.
Yeah. It was like so funny. That was a good episode. But okay, do we have any final thoughts on Doctor Strange? Jamaj and I, would you recommend people go see this movie in the theater?
If you're gonna go see it, I would go during the matinee or use your AMC movie points. That's what I would tell you to do.
Or buy tickets to Downton Abbey too.
Sure.
You don't want to give money to Disney.
Or just go watch The Northman if it's playing in your theaters.
Yes, go watch The Northman. It's so good.
The Northman was good, but I had a problem with I don't know if it was me. Did y'all have this problem? Like I couldn't hardly hear what they were doing in there. It's like the volume was off on it.
No, not at all.
The theater I was in, because it was like when they were talking, like it was like it's one of those weird things. Like when you hear when they're talking, sometimes it's really really low, and then when they talking, it gets really really high. It's just like it was like no real balance to me. I guess it might have been the theater.
It might have been your theater because I usually am very sensitive about sound, and I didn't experience that. And I am very sensitive about sound, and I get really mad like at Christopher Nolan for doing weird things with sound in his freaking movies, like in Tenet. So, so like it might have been your theater, but either way, the freaking Northman's amazing. That's a fucking 10. Okay. Like it's pretty good. Script Doctor, any final thoughts on this movie? And would you recommend people go see it in the theater?
Unless you're a diehard Marvel fan, I can't really recommend seeing it. Well, I'll put it to you this way. It is better than some of the worst of the Marvel films, but that's not saying much. Just like that's just the fair equation there.
Would you say this is like Sam Raimi at his peak, the way Lofty Pixels was saying?
Oh God, no.
There you go.
No,
what
way.
What is it with Lofty making these bad takes? Everybody gets on Lofty about bad takes.
Listen,
well, that's because he's got really bad takes. I don't know.
Of the Phase 4 Marvel films, it's the second best. Put it that way.
Wow.
It's better than Black Widow, better than Shang-Chi, better than Eternals, but it's not
okay, that is true. That is definitely true.
Yeah, No Way Home is like
that's it. That's different. By the way, what did so they started phase 4 wasn't Far From Home? They didn't count that as far because that came out.
Oh, that is in between. That was right after Endgame, right?
Yeah, that was right after Endgame. So Far From Home.
So yeah, I guess Far From Home. Yeah, I don't. Far From Home is. It's a little bit better than.
I hate that movie.
Yeah, that movie wasn't as good as it could have been.
They had a great.
I think Doctor Strange is actually this one is better than that movie. If you really want to, like, I thought that was better.
that's teetering on the Libra scales for me because
Far
Because
From
at
Home
least
was
in this
phase
movie, you get
3.
to see Wanda be crazy and kick ass. In that movie, you
There is
don't like
that.
Mysterio's just a fucking joke, and so is Spider-Man. Like, there's like nothing fun about that movie.
Michael Rex says Far From Home was phase 3. I consider that phase 4. I think anything after
I thought Phase 4
Endgame,
is everything after Endgame.
after everything after Endgame should be considered phase 4 because it is. It's like the Endgame was the end of phase
Endgame
3.
is literally called Endgame. Like, it's the end.
Yeah,
End.
quite
I mean,
literally.
If anything, Far From Home could be basically the interlude or the interlude or the intermission
Yeah.
between the phases because it does feel like it doesn't have a home technically.
Yeah.
No Way Home, and it doesn't have.
No, it's Far From Home, then No Way Home.
Far From
It was
Home, No Way Home.
Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home.
Doesn't have a home. Oh well,
Yeah,
whatever.
Doesn't have. That's gonna be the next
God
one.
damn it.
His,
Yeah.
Spider-Man doesn't have a home.
Homeless.
Spider-Man 4, homeless, yeah.
And he lives in New York and he's fucking homeless
Can't
now.
pay the rent.
Oh God. He can't- that's too real. That's too real. The Marvel going grounded and shit. Oh my God. Okay. Well, yeah. I agree with script. If unless you're a hardcore MCU fan and you've seen WandaVision, go and check it out. If you haven't seen WandaVision, but you really do want to check out this movie, just watch. I don't recommend watching WandaVision in its entirety. Just watch a recap, and you'll be fine. I think I don't want to tell people what to do with their money, but there's better things you can spend your money on than Doctor Strange too.
Watch some anime.
Especially if you want, like, if you're not really down with Disney, like, I don't know, I wouldn't give that company my money for this movie. Captain said Spider-Man 4 Home Alone. No, because in that way he's going back to being a kid again, and I don't like that. Ain't nobody home. Now we're just throwing out names.
I'm just hoping that they need to move forward. I don't ever want to see Peter Parker in high school again.
Me either. Well, no, he's going into college now, but
no, college is fine.
Yeah,
college is fine.
He's moving.
I don't
on.
want to see him I don't want to see him in high school ever again. So
I don't want to see him being a little bitch ever again. He's better be now a man.
That's hard to do because Spider-Man is often that.
Well, no. Hey, script doctor.
How dare you?
You and that freaking the Daily Bugle guy, man. He always comes up to in my threads and he's like, that menacing Spider-Man. Like,
oh yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite troll accounts on here. Wait, what? Holy crap! We had a 3 2/3 movie with him in high school. I know. I'm done, Tom.
Yeah,
done with this.
No, he's been in high school as long as the average student in America has been.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be in high school ever again. Like they listen. Let's be 100%. Every Spider-Man movie we've gotten since, even with Toby, he was in high school.
I like this
because he gets his powers when he's in high school. But
but they don't have to tell that story over again. Like the same thing, like with Bruce Wayne. Like you don't have to keep showing what really his origin story technically is when his parents get killed. So you don't have to keep telling that same story over and over again. We know.
We know
Peter Parker gets bitten by a spider. Okay, that story's been told 1,000 times. Let's move on from that.
Yeah, moving on. Like, can we see like some other people? Like, I like that they were like, introducing like Mysterio and stuff like that. But we haven't seen like any of the really, really cool villains in, Spider-Man. Other than now we have like Doc Ock and what's it called?
I heard Kraven's supposed to be coming in there, right? Is that true? Kraven?
What?
Kraven the Hunter?
Yes.
Kraven the Hunter, Black Cat, and Silver Sable.
He's got his own movie, Kraven, but after Morbius now, I feel devastated for all the other characters. Like, I don't know. I don't even want to think about what they're going to do to the Black Cat because she's my favorite. And it's like, they're going to destroy her. It's going to be fucking terrible. Cavatino has a great idea saying, how about super chat, with your money instead? Oh, that's a great idea. Don't give it to Disney. Tom says, no, I'm sick of hearing the Spider Boy nonsense. It's not nonsense, Tom. It happened. I'm used to seeing him more as a kid, not as an adult. But anyways, everyone wants him to grow up too fast. No, we just want Spider-Man. We've had this discussion, Tom, several times. We just don't agree. And that's okay. We can still be friends. Cinema Gulp for 2 says, I'm just here to say you rock, Nina, beauty and brains. Aw, thanks. And I really like your icon, Cinema Gulp. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. And that's the end of the show, folks. You can find me tomorrow on Midnight's Edge with Tom Connors, where I'll be probably bitching at him about this comment. And you can also find me on Tuesday on The Real BBC, where we will be talking very much so about this movie again with Gary and Az and Mahler, and much, much more, because they selected the new Doctor Who.
Yes, I did see that. I did see
Moon
them talk
Knight
about that.
ended. So there's a lot of stuff going on. We're gonna definitely be getting to a lot of crazy stuff on The Real BBC. You guys want to check that out? It's going to be on Az's channel. Make sure you are subscribed to Az. Another super chat here from Imperial Agent Dragon 9 for $5 says, I blacked out when he gave Doctor Strange 7 out of 10. How much was Damaj and I drinking during that movie? I'm telling you, this is something that I was arguing with Lofty about too, is that a lot of people have kind of like changed their tier. And I feel like I have to change my tier too, because there's so much woke and crazy shit that's come out in movies, like that we don't even know how to grade them anymore. Like our rankings has just gone like, oh, is it woke? Then I'm gonna give it like an 8 out of 10 if it's not, like, you know, or like if it's not even a little book, like, but I feel like all of our standards have just dropped so low that it's just, you know, I don't know. I don't think ranking movies like that works anymore, to be completely honest with you. Because
welcome to my world.
Exactly, right, Script? Because if you're thinking about, like, let's say a great movie, like one of the greatest movies of all time, let's say Casablanca, you can't even begin to compare Casablanca to, or Citizen Kane to, like, you know, something like freaking Doctor Strange 2, you know? It's just not, I don't know. We all really need
The only
to.
recommendations that are the most reliable ones are see it or don't see it. That's kind of like the most honest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Because
everybody has a different ranking.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Hollywood, especially nowadays, is banking on you. They're trying to break you down so that you will accept mediocrity as glorious, so that they don't have to work as hard, which is very bad business model, in my opinion.
I really like that. I think that I think you nailed it. Tom's still going at me about this bullshit. He's supposed to be worried about school, his aunt, a job, all the while being Spider-Man, not paying bills, paying rent, and worrying about getting married. Damn it, Tom. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Thomas, we're not going to agree. I'm with Nita on this. I am tired of him being in high school. Name is Spider-Man. It says it in the title. Says it in the title, man.
That's
Spider-Man. Okay?
Let him be a man and do manly things. Damaj and I, please tell everyone where they can find you. Thanks for joining us today.
Find me on my channel, DMAJI. That's Damaj and I. You can also check me out on the Dark Council on Wednesdays, 8:30. Of course, we were putting in a centralized location, but YouTube wants to YouTube and demonetize our centralized station. So we're going back to splitting ourselves up. Pause. So you have to so you have to keep an eye on Twitter to find out where the show is going to be held. The best thing is Spider-Man 2 is just, oh, come on, man. Anyway, you distracted me. Oh, and by the way, tonight, once I get off here with you guys, I'm actually, if you see this, I've been having it back in the background. I will be playing some Final Fantasy on my channel. So you're going to come swing by. I'm on my quest to get all my jobs on level 90. So that's what I'll be at after this. So if you're going to come through, thank you. If not, I'll see you when I see you.
There's Demogenize's channel in the chat. I will add it to the description as well. You know I'm right. I know you're wrong, Tom. I love you, bro. Script Doctor. I miss you. I always miss talking to you. You're so awesome. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD, and I also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/ScriptDoctor. It is temporarily dormant right now. I am working, but you can watch my reviews and analyses of various television shows and movies. And yeah, please feel free to leave a comment. And if there's anything you want me to look at, I'll add it to my list. So just drop me a comment or a @ on Twitter.
Did you check out my show suggestions? Like North of 60.
Oh yeah. Yes. I actually managed to get a copy of the first season on DVD.
Did you like it? Have you watched it yet?
I've seen the first 2 episodes. I really enjoyed it. So
yay! We'll talk about it later.
yeah.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much for all the super chats, for just hanging out in the chat, for liking and sharing the stream, all that good stuff. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. We'll be back next Sunday. We might be reviewing Ted Lasso or something else, but definitely do watch Ted Lasso because we will be reviewing it at some point. It's on Apple Plus, and it's pretty good. It's a really good show. I'm really enjoying it. So we're gonna probably cover that next week, or unless something else crazy comes up, in which case we'll cover that. But for now, watch Ted Lasso. It'll be good. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Later, y'all.
Wait, what should we end it on? Let's end it on this for Teresa. Bye-bye.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
I don't doubt it. You're an excellent specimen. I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.